capability through their representative, through their corruption and the people they put there in the IBC, they have the capability of rocking out the candidate that we feel that can represent us, the candidate that will support by then. Before Kigame, there was Mukiza Kitui. They managed to elbow him out. And of course, there are candidates like Wajakoya. They always keep him there. Before Wajakoya, there was yes.
Now, I appreciate your presentation, but I'll ask you to land in 2 minutes. And meanwhile, in 1 minute,
okay.
Nyati and Mweru, if you can see Senior Kanzukibe Muigai, you can pass the mic to him.
Yeah, so I keep trying to add him, but I don't know, he's not connecting. So he has to keep trying. I keep trying to add him, it's not connecting.
Okay, noted.
No, go ahead.
I give you 30 seconds to land.
Okay. As I said, there was Wajakoya. Before Wajakoya, there was Dida. There was Morara. There are candidates that they would allow, but they know these candidates are not a threat to them. So I saw Morara here sometimes back. He needs to, and others, all of us, I think, we need to really watch out on the IBC, because IBC means everything. If we are to win this thing at the election, if we are not going to overthrow Ruto before that time comes. But my hope and prayer is that we overthrow Ruto before that time comes. That's my submission. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. I think Fred is next.
Yes. Do you hear me? Good evening, everybody.
Go ahead, Fred. We can hear you.
I think in the space we have brave brains. We have Ndewa. We have Morara. We have Tony Gasoka. My question is, do you think that the Ruto won the general election of 2022 in a free, fair, and credible election? According to me, Ruto hakushinda kihalali. So we are telling young generation of Kenyans that go and register as voters. Go and register, have your IDs. So mimi ninashindwa, nani akona system? Ni ujambazi mwenye anaitwa Ruto ndiye akona system. Nimefanya research. Hakuna ID kwa Huduma Center ambao zinatolewa. Kuna wenye walichukua ID zao January. Up to the moment hakuna ID asijatoka. Lakini serikali inaambia watu go and collect your IDs, ambapo ni uongo mtupu. So si huku space tunashinda tukiambia watu you have to register as voters. Wapi IPC? So
I think tunaongelelea reconstitution of the IBC. Okay? So kuna space mtaweka ya ID, which I know is a very important part in you being able to take part in the elections. So next week we shall be having that topic. But as we do that, I want to bring in Morara if he's ready. Then we can circulate more. Morara, are you ready?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're clear, Morara. Go on.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having invited me to come and speak here. Now, as I always say and will continue to say, Kenya is a crime scene. It's a crime scene including the constitution of the IEBC. Because as you can see, the new law that we have is a compromise by politicians. And the details, because the devil...
Morara, we don't hear you.
I do not have a fair selection panel. However much we take care, I'm already ready for an unfair selection panel. Personally, I'm also ready for an unfair IBC, because knowing who William Ruto is, I'm almost 90% sure that regardless of what we discuss on this Twitter space, how eloquently we put it,
Do you guys hear him?
No, he keeps on dropping. I think either he's on transit or something.
Yeah, he's on the road. Looks like it.
Now we've lost him.
So Morara, you can hear us. Your net keeps
as senators, others are.
Morara, I apologize for this, but we can hear you. You keep breaking off.
In terms of what can come out of that IEBC, I'm not hopeful. And I also know that even if we get the selection panel and they select the IEBC commissioners, even if we have people of integrity there, one of William Ruto's specialties is good to people who lack integrity, because he really knows how to buy them, and if he cannot buy them, he threatens them. So I'm already worried about that and what effect it will have on our country. But from where I see it, the way I see it, and the solutions to it, I see it a bit differently. First, I see it in the sense that even if we have an unfair IEBC, if we defeat in an election by a very huge margin, if we defeat William Ruto by an extremely huge margin, ile yenye he is at 65% and we are at 65% and he is at 35%, regardless of who the candidate will be, anyone who is maybe a coalition candidate, if he is defeated properly, 65%, 35%, ile yenye mtu wa kwanza akiwa 4 million votes, yeye ako 1.2 million votes. That way, he will have to concede defeat, and he will not be able even to redeem the amount of money he has bought that commission. So even if the commission is compromised, everything will be in black and white. So I am worried about the kind of IEBC we are going to get. Personally, I've given up hope in terms of getting a free and fair IEBC, because you've seen even what he did after the Gen Z movement. He is a master of withdrawing technically, looking like he has been pacified, looking like he is listening. Then once the people calm down, he comes back with the same old things. He comes back and restores everything. Wizi sasa kwa serikali is back full swing. The cabinet is back full swing. Everything that was there before the Gen Z protest, it is back in full swing. Meaning he really knows this thing about self-preservation. So playing with IEBC is playing in his field, because he is president now, he has all the money in the world, and he can threaten and he can compromise. So I don't have hope. By all means, even if it's something is stable in parliament, even if a court case is won and the court case says that we deserve a better IEBC or a free and fair selection panel or something of the sort, I don't have any hope. No, don't interrupt. Let me finish. So I don't have any hope that that IEBC is going to be free and fair. Because again, you should also remember that he has compromised the parliament and he has also compromised the courts so much that we have an acting inspector general who is a convicted criminal but cannot be taken to prison, and they were even taking photographs with him today. So Kenya is already a mafia country, it's already a criminal enterprise. Let's not be too realistic, let's not be too expectant of anything useful to come out of this institution or anything legal. Let us strategize on how we will transform the nation early enough. We need now to start thinking about it, how to organize, how to plan, and if it is possible to have this government removed before 2027, that would even be better. But if we have to remove them in the ballot, then the only solution is to defeat them by a huge margin. Those are my thoughts.
Okay, but Tony, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I have a question to my brother Morara. It's nothing to request. If we are able to raise a petition to the Law Society of Kenya with a view to boycott the legal proceedings in the High Court or in the courts in Kenya until we find a resolution to the IBC. This is a maneuver that was tried in the 90s when I think Paul Muite was the chairman of the Law Society, where we do not address Ruto or Parliament, but we are, and this is what Ndegwa was talking about, that the Law Society have got within their constitution a safeguard to the betterment of the people of Kenya. And if the lawyers were to boycott their industry, we can bring the courts and we can bring the government to its knees on an important issue of public policy. And I was thinking, and one of the reasons I was looking for Morara all of yesterday was because he can take that message out there. If we can have enough lawyers, and Senior Kibe is trying to join us on the line, Kibe Muigai, and Ndegwa is here. If we can get a number of those, and I saw the former chairman of the Law Society, the Uri, was here, can we be able to have a petition and move the LSK to a kind of an action, a boycott of court activity until we have the IBC issue addressed? I'm asking Morara to respond.
Morara, do you hear Tony? Oh, it doesn't look like he's responding.
No, I'm here. It's just that immediately he began speaking, I lost him. So I'm unable now to.
Can you hear me now? Oh, unfortunate. Can you hear me? Okay.
I think as we wait, yes, Morara?
Yeah, I lost all of you. I could not hear you. I lost you. Just repeat Tony Gashoka's question.
So my question, Morara, is that if we were able to organize a boycott of led by the Law Society of Kenya, along the lines that was done when Paul Muite was the chairman of the LSK, where the lawyers refused and put down their tools.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear?
I can hear you, Morara. Can anyone else hear Morara?
Yeah, I can also hear him.
Yeah, so nobody's answering. I'm saying I lost all of you. I could not hear you. And I wanted someone to just summarize in 3 seconds what Tony Gashoka's question is.
So, Morara, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, so Tony Gashoka is saying, in the 90s, the Law Society of Kenya mobilized lawyers to boycott the judiciary until, in this case, the IBC is reconstituted properly. So what we are doing is, and we requested Wakili Ndegwa to do it, is do the same. And he said that is something they can organize so that we get a proper constituted IBC. Will that give you hope that we shall have a good, well-concerted IBC?
Absolutely, yes. Now I'm happy with the direction that this conversation is taking, because let's not be too realistic. Let's not imagine that we are in a functional country. Let's not imagine that we are in a functional democracy where systems work, where professionals can sit down, develop a strategy, take it to court or table it before parliament. It's debated, it's passed, it's law, or it's a court case, it's adjudicated, we have a result. We are not living in a normal country, and we are not living in a functional democracy. We are living in a criminal enterprise where criminals know that they've stolen from Kenya. They want to continue stealing from Kenya and build an empire out of Kenya with poor people, assisted by all leaders from top up to the bottom in the MCA. And these people would stop at nothing. In fact, that law that says that in the absence of the chair of the IEBC, nobody else can take precedence, is enough a law which William Ruto can use to abduct. Remember, he usually kills. So abduction for him is not a new trick in his playbook. It is something he can do anytime. He can abduct the chair of the independent institution. And let me just also take this opportunity to also remind Kenyans that hii mambo ya independent offices and independent institutions, it died a long time ago. Our constitution created the parliament, legislature, and judiciary. And then it created independent offices and independent institutions. One of the independent institutions it created is IEBC, which clearly, as you've spoken, is not independent. Let's come to other independent offices. The Directorate of Criminal Investigation is supposed to be independent, but you can see it's not independent. The DPP is supposed to be independent, but you can see all they do is not prosecute cases, but to drop cases that were being prosecuted. They are now accomplices in crime. You come to the Teachers Service Commission. The Teachers Service Commission is supposed to be an independent commission under the IEBC. An MP from my region where I come from and a cabinet secretary, former cabinet secretary, they had letters of TSC at a funeral, issuing letters of TSC to prospective teachers. We have an independent, or rather, we imagine that there should be an independent police oversight authority. To this day, we don't know how many Kenyans who are abducted have been found. In fact, there is none. Because they are independent, but independent on paper. They are not independent. So, I will assure Kenyans that let's not think of strategies that are in the book. We have now to think about strategies that are outside the book. And mass action is one of those strategies, civil unrest and civil disobedience. Those are some of the strategies that are in the book that we can use. Now, what we should remember is that after the 26th of June, the government understood that violence works. And according to them, shooting and killing works. Therefore, anybody who wants to rise in mass action right now, the government knows that it can threaten them using bullets. So what is the thing that can defeat bullets? The only thing that can defeat bullets in Kenya is numbers. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here on X talking, but we are barely, we who think the way we are thinking here on X, watu wenye wanafikiria kama sisi, they are less than 10% of Kenya. 90% of Kenya doesn't even care. 90% of Kenya has not even read the constitution. 90% of Kenyans wanasemanga katiba, wanasiasa watatusomea na hao mawakili watuambie. They've not read it. So they don't even know what system of governance to expect. In fact, when you talk about all these things, IEBC and selection, majority of the nation does not understand it. So if you don't devolve the conversation to the villages, you will always lose. And that is why we've been losing some of these conversations and some of our strategies that we've been losing. We've been losing because we don't have the majority of Kenyans behind us. And the reason we don't have the majority of Kenyans behind us is because they lack knowledge and nobody is reaching out to them to give them knowledge. Their source of knowledge is politicians, because politicians are the only ones who've kept in touch with them. They are always with them in funerals, always with them in public events, so they own the monopoly of lies. We who are on this X space, regardless of our professions, whether we are lawyers, engineers, strategists, academicians, whoever we are on this X space, we need to understand that this battle will be won on numbers, and the numbers are in the villages. You see, even if you want to create mass action to demand for the president to appoint the IEBC, the president already knows his playbook. He will just go to some village, hold a rally at the village, lie to the villagers, and since those villagers are 90% or 80% of the country, he wins their hearts, and that is it, and you lose it. So the rest of us, we now start looking like intellectual fools. We start looking like people who amount to nothing, when actually we are the people who are right and the majority is wrong, but we are not reaching out to majority to tell them why we are right or why we say things the way we say them. And you see, the media because of advertising deals with government, is not playing the role actively as an informer of the public. They keep bringing panelists who are not known for any wisdom, who lack knowledge in anything. They just keep bringing people to come and abuse each other on television for entertainment. They don't take up that role to inform the public so that the public can be better informed about what type of governance should be happening in Kenya and what is happening. So let us start thinking about how we will first devolve the conversation. Then secondly, once we've devolved the conversation, can it be owned by majority of Kenyans? If majority of Kenyans own it and they say, enyewe tunakubaliana na nyinyi, we need this, I can tell you, William Ruto will be shaken to his roots. He will have to run and organize that political class that have ganged up with him, including those opposition leaders, and find a way to do that IEBC. But for as long as he has the support of the villagers, ours is just intellectual noise, an academic exercise that amounts to nothing.
TG, I don't know whether you want to respond or...
Yes, I'm very happy that Morara has said what he has said, because I agree with him. But the only thing that I'm not agreeing with him is that we are not using the Law Society. And I want to repeat, the Law Society in Kenya has played a major role in the liberation of this nation. In fact, in the 90s, it was a critical. During the Matiba days, I remember even the detention of Kenneth Matiba and Rubia. There were times that the dictatorship of Moi was as brutal as this dictatorship. And when it came to matters of great public importance, the Law Society was able to move in and do things that were not normal because they were extraordinary times. And so all I am asking Morara is that if we get the LSK behind a petition, can he continue what he's doing nationwide so that people rally behind what the LSK can do? We will be asking them, can lawyers of Kenya get together and boycott the courts until the courts and the country, including the government, agree to hear the issue of IBC and resolve it as a right within our constitutional right as we take back sovereignty of the people. So I'm asking, if we get it done at the academic level, can he take it down to the grassroots, which he's doing very effectively? That is all I'm saying to him. Tutafanya na yeye pia afanye.
Morara, did you hear Gashoka's rebuttal? Or if you didn't, I can repeat it for you.
I didn't hear anything. I don't know where
No worries, Morara. So, this is what Tony Gashoka is suggesting, because this is what we do every time we come on space. We discuss and we come up with a solution. So because you have the Law Society of Kenya well represented in this space, I hope I'm clear to you, Morara.
Yes, I can hear you.
So
continue.
we want, because we have to work within the law, so we want the LSK to go to court and say, and put up a petition that we want IEBC reconstituted as a matter of urgency, because it represents all Kenyans. Now, for us to be able to put pressure, it must be pressure from the courts and pressure from the ground. Now, we can put pressure on the court, but you as Morara and your movement, you are very effective on the ground. So we have a teamwork. Once we launch our petition to the High Court, now we move on the ground and and ask Kenyans to say that this IEBC matter is now a national matter that needs urgency. Can we form such, and can we make such a declaration today to Kenyans?
That is a very brilliant move. That's a very brilliant move, because essentially what that move says, it says that let everyone do what they can do best. And since you know the courts better, and since you still have hope in those courts, it's not lost. We can make it an attempt. Let everybody try what they can. Let musicians make music that is revolutionary. Let you guys also go to court to seek orders that this is now a matter of national urgency. And meanwhile, those of us who have lost hope in those courts, Let us organize the streets, and me, I'm willing to call everyone to the streets for mass action against those people. So I can put enough pressure from the streets, and you can put enough pressure in court, and we can make headway. But it needs good preparation. It should not be by surprise. There should be good, good preparation in the minds of Kenyans, and good coordination and good timing also. Good timing.
Thank you, Morara. I hear you. And one of the things I'll promise you, on this space we promised Kenyans we shall stop Adani in court. We shall petition the Indian government, and we've done exactly that, and we are getting results. So what we are going to do, with the permission of the legal team and Tony Gashoka and his team, we shall do the petition and we shall coordinate with you. Once we have the plan, I assure you from our end, we shall coordinate and we shall execute in a very successful way. That's my commitment to you, Morara.
Well, go ahead.
My commitment to you. My commitment to you is that, you are doing everything that you can for your nation, and that has to be, we have to give you flowers and hats off for everything that you're doing. Me, I will do my part, and my part is to rally people. Essentially, my influence is supposed to be used to rally people and to lead people towards change in our country. So if the rallying call should be, we want IEBC now, mimi ni nani? Niko tayari. I will wear my gumboots. I'm ready to show up, and I'm ready to rally Kenyans who believe in that cause to show up, and also to even make those who do not believe in that cause to believe in it.
I mean, I agree with you, Morara. Everybody needs to play their part, and we all have to do what we have to do. So I completely agree with you on that, in that regard, in the sense that this needs to be everybody's initiative and everybody's responsibility. We all have a role to play in this.
So, Wakili Ndegwa, I see Mkenya Daima's hand up, and James, I see both of your hands up.
Hang on, we had a list. So I have Joe going. Joe needs to go for 3 minutes. Then we have Moraba, then James, then Kenya Daima.
Okay, just a minute before they take it away. Can you hear
go
me?
ahead, Morara. We can.
Yeah, so I've just arrived at a crime scene, and I'm about to go into war. So I want to request leave. I am at Upper Hill. I just left my house. I'm at Upper Hill at what we call Talanta House. And right here at Talanta House, we have players of Kabaddi Kenya team that are holed up in the office of the PS. They were supposed to travel to Iran today, and they've not had an opportunity to travel to Iran because their budget was approved but not signed. So I'm about to go to war, and for that reason I have to leave.
It's very much in order, Morara. We'll keep in touch. So, Muero.
Thanks, Morara, for joining us. When you're done with what you're doing right now, feel free to join us. It will still be having the space. We appreciate your time, and we appreciate everything that you've been doing. So the next speaker is supposed to be Joe, Real Joe. Please speak for 3 minutes, and then you'll be followed by Marabo, then James, then Kenya Daima.
Thank you very much, Moira. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Thank you very much, Anthony. So we are talking about the constitution of the IBC, but I've heard sentiments from Ndegwa, the Wakili. I've heard sentiments from Gashoka Tony. And right now, I think as it stands right now, we all have the same problem. We are trying to solve the same problem. Actually, today I would like to borrow some sentiments that were said by Anthony Gashoka in 2015 when he was at JKL Live, the famous interview, when people thought he was drunk. He was not. I know he was not drunk. He used that interview to castigate Uhuru, and he pretended to be drunk so that he would send his message, he would pass his message and he would send his message home. So that at the end of the day, nobody would say that, no, Anthony said this. People would defend him and say, no, he was drunk. Anthony talked about the political system of impunity. I think that time he was castigating people like Mike Tonko, who are Nyata, with jeans and things like that. Anthony had a problem with that. Not Anthony, but Tony. Tony Gashoka had a problem with that. Right now, we have a political culture in our country whereby we have the political class dictating what needs to happen, what we need to consume on a daily basis in terms of information. Right now, we are being treated to circus. Gachagua is fighting, I don't know who, Kimani Ichung'wah, and that is information. And we end up talking about that even in spaces. The political class is setting up a pace for us, what we need to discuss. And that is impunity in itself. We have a problem in this country that we need to address. I've said this several times. IEBC is a body that has been mandated by our constitution to help in choosing representatives of the people. Okay? IEBC is supposed to help the people in choosing representatives. Therefore, that is why the constitution talks about an independent electoral and boundary commission. It is supposed to be an independent body. What we are seeing currently is what we are seeing happening in our country currently is a president trying to dictate who even needs to be in IEBC. That is why we are hearing sentiments from Morara. This guy is going to use the IEBC to I don't know, rig elections and things like that. Everybody has this kind of sentiments. It is because we are losing the very fundamental concept, independence of Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Independence. And this is the biggest problem we have. Why are we losing this concept of independence of this commission? We have selected a leadership. All these people leading us, we have selected them. We have asked them to represent us, be it legislature, be it executive. We have asked them, please, we cannot all be presidents. As per the Constitution, Article 1, we are the sovereign power. We are the supreme authority of the land. We the people, all sovereign power belongs to the people. Article 1 says that clearly. And we can exercise our powers directly or indirectly through our elected representatives. And all the times we have trusted our elected representatives to make decisions on behalf of the people. So whenever we elect, we are asking these people, please represent us. And we are not asking them, I'm using the wrong terms. We are not saying please. They're supposed to represent us and show us, account to us as the people who have given them the mandate to represent us. And we always miss one point as a people. I've said this before. We always miss elements of chapter 6. The people we select to represent us, do they meet chapter 6 of our constitution? Are they professionals in terms of leadership? Do they have integrity? In fact, chapter 6 doesn't even require you to be a professional. It only requires you to have integrity. It only requires you to have integrity of leadership. Do we select people with integrity to lead us? Do we? We don't. We don't select people with integrity to lead us. That is the biggest problem we have in our country. And that is what we are trying to correct. I remember, as I was speaking previously, in that interview 2015, Tony Gashoka, he remembers what he was talking with Jeff. One fundamental issue I picked from that interview, he was talking about this as political system of impunity. What is a political system of impunity? a political system whereby people around you pretend to be bigger and want to force themselves into a cocoon whereby they are the ones who have a say. And that's what we are seeing happening right now. That is why we have Masengeli, who is an acting. Imagine an acting. He's not even an IG, he's an acting. Acting for me is, I would equate acting to a content creator. Nini, Crazy Kena, acting. Okay, Masengeli is acting. He's an acting IG. He disrespects court orders, an acting IG. And that is why I borrow the same concept from Tony Gashoka. This concept, this Law Society of Kenya needs to down their tools because the law is under siege. And that is why I was encouraging someone like Ndegwa, please down your tools. So that we don't, because the political class have suspended the law. They have suspended it. We can see it. We can see police brutalizing citizens. Yeah? And I have equated the current regime to a mad king. I've equated Ruto to a mad king. He's insane.
A landing.
Yes, he's insane. I've equated Ruto to a mad king. He's an insane person. And I'm not saying this from my own words. He himself, in any gather, he was with the university students the other time. He said, am I a madman? That is an insane person questioning himself. He was in Mombasa. Am I a madman to sell GKA? That is an insane person questioning himself. He is a psychopath. A psychopath is someone who has no remorse. Someone who goes on media and says, you know, I don't know about abductions. I don't know. I'm not aware about abductions in our country. That is someone who is a psychopath. And this matter of IBC, the president is trying to dictate who needs to go to IEBC, and that we have a problem with that. And most of the people here can borrow the same ideology that this president, this presidency, this leadership.
So, real good.
Can I stop?
I want to request you, yes, because it's well past our time, but
okay.
Just finish, then we bring in the rest of the speakers.
Okay. So as I yield, we have a leadership that does not respect the people. I had put my points, but let me just yield, Anthony. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Morara. Please keep it at 3 minutes. Morara is not responding. Let's hear from James.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
So one thing I've picked up from the conversation is the fear of an IEBC that we cannot trust. So from a solutions perspective, a team we have been working on a public participation portal. It's called Mkura, where you can vote or make your voice heard on practically anything. So the portal is already working, and putting action to solution, I would suggest you all check it out and test it, because the end game is to create our own parallel database to the government. So that way we have one platform which has data on all of us, or about like one platform where all of us can show our numbers. Because right now, even with the IEBC being constituted and us going into an election, the possibilities of rigging being very high, then we need our own system to ensure that we have our own parallel tally happening. So in addition to that also, I have shared the link to the portal on the on the comments. So I'll Anthony, you can attach it to the Jumbotron, and then people can interact with the platform and give us feedback on the same.
Yes, James, thank you. I'll do that. Next was Mkenya Daima.
Thank you, Anthony. Mine was brief, and it was on the reconstitution of the IEBC. This is a matter we foresaw since the NADCO report, and it was really brought to my attention when I saw the politicians celebrating about the NADCO report. The NADCO report is a 520 pages, and it is where our petition that to the parliament on 9th was born out of. One thing that you realize with the NADCO report, and even if the IEBC was reconstituted today as it is, now there are 9 positions. First of all, I need you to understand, if the IEBC is reconstituted based on the NADCO report as they passed it, we stand no chance. The reason why we stand no chance, it's because 5 out of the 9 seats from the political class, and 2 are from the religious council. And one crazy thing is, our religion now has what I would call an holy matrimony with the states. That's the church. So probably 6 out of the 9 might not favor us, because the only people who are there is 2 in the panel are supposed to be from the majority party, which is Kenya Kwanza. The other 2 are from Azimio. The other 2 are from the religious council. Now we are standing at 7. The other one is supposed to be ISPAC, and the other one is LSK. So when you listen to that, they form 9. They form 9 in the constitution panel. And now when you look at that, there was nowhere have been left out, and youth being left out, it was on the point. So it means even in the voting block, we also form 70%. How is it that 70% of the most important decision-making process, like IBC reconstitution, as it is by the Constitution? So that's why we created that petition that seeks to restructure. Because the ABC selection panel, it is the one that it is from that point the ABC commissioners will come from. So from that team of 9. So that's an issue that I felt like the youths, we've been left out, and that's why we've done that petition, and that's the petition. Now when you look at it the way it is, even if for it to be fixed tomorrow, yes, we are going to get a skunk, and the reason why we are going to get a skunk is because so many things have not been factored out. So that's one thing that it's a petition. It's good in this initiative now is a we've gone to see the LSK. Me, Shakira, and Kasmuel. We've met Collins Odhiambo, the LSK advocate for the parliament. So we've tried to meet several people. We've met minority whip, that is Madam Millie Odhiambo, to make sure that the petition gets reading.
Thank you. As we bring in Degwa, there's one thing Morara said about people going what we call maandamano. I want you guys to know, before the Prime Minister's post was made, it did not exist. It came into being because people went to the streets. And that's the reason Gashoka asked, if we go to the law, by the law, and we go to the streets, the 2 are a perfect storm that now we can have the youth included in the selection panel. Because that is what pressure does. People work that way. But Tony Gashoka, you want to say something? Because I'm seeing time is well spent, and I have another 2 hours with diaspora.
Yes, what I was saying is I'm hoping that the point has been landed. You know, my point in Morara was not about
going to court, for LSK going to court. I think the last speaker got me correctly. The issue that I'm suggesting is a boycott, where the lawyers lay down their tools of trade, say we are not going to court on all matters, whether they be commercial, whether they be criminal. We are bringing Kenya's legal justice system to a standstill until we address the issue of IBEC. And I was giving a parallel of how this has happened in the past, where the Law Society would get together and say, hold on, because now everything else has failed. And as custodians of the law and the Constitution, we are and the people having so expressed, we as lawyers of this country will bring the country to a standstill in a judicial sense until this matter is resolved. And in that time, then the other street action is continuing. Why the LSK has boycotted courts. And that way the government will be brought to book because they cannot resist such pressure. So I was asking Dewa to respond on how we can do the same way we've done the petition to India on the Andani matter. Why can't we this time petition the LSK, Law Society of Kenya, not Parliament, not the politicians, the LSK, and the LSK can then tell its members, because we sought to uphold the oath and the rule of law. As lawyers, we are going to bring up this as a cause for the country. And I wanted Degwa to respond, and Kibem Wigai is on this line. He's been trying. He has sent me a message. I really hope the senior would be able to come on. Kibem Wigai was trying to, I think, connect through Shiko. I've sent you the link, and I would like the lawyers to respond if possible.
Yes, Titi. Nyati on the Mweru, can you see the link? Can you see Shiko requesting?
Yes, I just added her.
Thank you. Then now we have Senior Counsel Kibe Mwigai, and it will be really good to hear from him.
You let him go next. Yes, let him go immediately.
He's next. Senior Counsel Kibe Mwigai, you're next. You can make your submission.
Looks like he's not responding. Yeah.
Okay. Senior Counsel, I see Shiko is on. I can see her right now. So if you can hear us, give us a 100. Or you just unmute and make your submission.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Finally. Go on.
Hello? You can hear me now?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Sorry about had a lot of difficulty getting through, but I have listened, and thank you for holding this forum. And I can start the last bit that Tony Gashoka was talking about, which is the issue to do with LSK boycotting this. I think this ties up with what Kebaso Morara was talking about. Unlike the days when Akina Paul Mwita were practicing, nowadays the Law Society of Kenya and the size of the legal profession is so big that I do not see how the entire legal profession would be easy to mobilize. Because my reading of the situation is that for the time being, you find that even if you are to mobilize 50% of the lawyers who are public spirited, you might still get another 50% who are willing to attend court, and therefore such a strike action may not be effective enough. But having said that, there are 3 contributions that I needed to make. I do not think that it is by accident that the process of reconstituting the IBC has taken very long. If you look at countries like Ukraine, countries like South Sudan, it is now becoming the norm that part of the strategy of dictators who want to hang on to power is to ensure that there is no electoral body And you had that, by the way, also in the Congo, the DRC, where you do not constitute an electoral body, and then you either extend your stay in power or you trigger a constitutional crisis. Talking about a constitutional crisis, and that is my point too, there is a critical issue which I have always suspected the government is aware, but the majority of the people of Kenya are not aware of. And that particular issue is this. Today we have 290 constituency and 1450 wards for one simple reason, that in the year 2012, in March, there was a legal notice that was published to divide Kenya into 290 constituency and 1450 wards. This legal notice was going to be in force for 20 years. What this means is this: the legal notice expired in March this year, which is to say that if today something happened and it was necessary to hold a general election, we do not have electoral units to hold elections in Kenya in accordance with the constitution. This is a legal fact and a serious one that leaves a very serious vacuum in our law that amounts to a constitutional crisis. But how do you trigger this? The manner in which I am suspecting that this will be triggered. Remember, under Article 88 of the Constitution, the constituency must be reviewed, and this is a must, in order to create a new constituencies for purposes of the next election. So that the two issue is not one of choice. There is no constituencies demarcation for purposes of the next general elections in 2027. I am sure government is aware of this. Therefore, what this means, the more that you delay the coming into existence of the IEBC, it will mean that they will face you with the issue, and do you know we do not have constituency? If Kenyans come to realize this fact in the year 2025 or 2026, then there is no way that the next general elections is going to be held because of a technical constitutional reason. So that we need to read this and be able, first of all, to explain to the people of Kenya that people are being set up for the extension of the presidential term and of members of parliament. This will be done because you will be given that there is a technical reason. For me, that's the biggest danger. The third point that I needed to point out is that there is no dictator in the Game of Thrones. Like there is an interesting statement that was made. In the Game of Thrones, they say, who is the most powerful? And they said, the most powerful individual or the element or person, it depends on your own perceptions. So Kenyans have a choice to make. If you assume William Ruto is the most powerful factor in the Republic of Kenya, then you will act in a manner where you subdue yourself to William Ruto. But if you choose and say that at the helm of our constitutional order, it is the constitution that is most powerful, then you are able to require that everybody must submit to the constitution. But the starting point must be knowledge. And the knowledge is this: in view of what is happening, how is it that somebody will try to cling on to power unlawfully and in order to trigger some confusion that ends up confusing everything in Kenya? Therefore, Kenyans should not think there is an accident here, that the process is just taking. Now we have forgotten about NADCO. After NADCO, and you're having now, people are talking about Gachagua and all this kind of thing, you are going to get something else. So that Kenya are being played on, and you are being pushed into a constitutional crisis. And finally, I make the point that what do you do before 2027? Probably, as of now, political power is to be protected. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. The last point I was making very quickly is that when it comes to political power, organizing and more political action is the only route to ensure that nobody gets rooted in anything to do. And for this, one of the good things is that Ruto is going to bankrupt the country. So he could be our best friend for what is going to happen. Everybody is having demonstrations. Ruto can be able to kick out Gachagua, but it is obvious Ruto cannot prevent Kenya from going bankrupt. What are the opportunities that comes with bankruptcy? The university lecturers are out on strike. Why are they striking alone? This is one opportunity in which we can be able to say, let's go and support university lecturers, because it is not easy to mobilize everybody. But it's sometimes easy to say, when the 4,000 university lecturers are having a demonstration, let us join them. Because without saying that we are something that is running all of us together, it may never be possible to mobilize everybody across Nairobi. If people are demonstrating in Gekomba, it should not only be people in Gekomba. We join them and say, we are here in solidarity with Gekomba people. Therefore, I thank you for this forum, but political action over and over again is the only way that a dictatorship can be able to understand. Doesn't have the space to do anything it wishes to do.
Thank you. Thank you. I want you to stay on the space so that I ask a question. But I see Tony's Gashoka's hand is up. So Tony, say something then.
A very quick question for Senior Kibe Muigai. A petition is going to come to the Law Society of Kenya, and we are going to ask for lawyers to assist. If we don't get 100% of the lawyers, can we get 100? Can we get 200? If we start, we have to deal with this matter. And the question is, if a press conference in Kenya were to be held by 200 lawyers raising this issue, would Kibe Muigai be present at that press conference? Definitely, I'll be present, and I can guarantee you at least that other friends of mine. So I want to guarantee the country on this forum today that Tony Gashoka will ensure a petition will land on the table of the President of the Law Society, and I will give you a copy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tony Gashoka. And I'm always happy because, as we say on this space on Point Blank, we just don't talk, we actually do something about it. On the other, my question to you, Akili, was Senior Counsel. So Morara has agreed to do the mobilization for us because he can clearly mobilize the numbers. So does this mean we need to do what you've just proposed? That we bring all these people who are striking for one reason or the other, we come together and form and reenact what happened on the 25th, because it seems that is the only language government understands. Yes, it is the only way, and it doesn't even have to wait for everybody to say you are striking. It is every time there is a strike, we must be able to join in solidarity. Because like now, you take opportunities. Some of these actions, even in Bangladesh, I believe your students, even in and then it is joined. Somebody must be at the heart of it, and the rest of us join. So that, because you never expect that grievances are going to be shared across at the same time. But because students, there is the issue of the fees, university lecturers, the CBA, doctors have unresolved issues, but it is every time is a demo of the 2000, they shouldn't go to the streets alone. We should have a way in which we can all of us be joining hands with our comrades, and to ensure that any opportunity that is there, it becomes a bigger event, and not just for the specifically affected group. If it was the people at the airport, it should not only be the workers at JKIA, it should be as many people as possible. Otherwise, it would only be like everybody is their own silos. We shouldn't be in our own silos.
We are all citizens of Kenya, and we are hurting from dictatorship, bad governance, and punitive taxation. But today, Wednesday, it is Group A. Thursday, Group B. Another day, Group C. It will never work to be a big thing, big enough to scare a dictator. That's the point I'm making.
Thank you, Senior. Nyati, I see your hand is up. You can say something, then you can circulate the mic.
Yes, thank you, Anthony. Just a quick one, Senior Councillor. I appreciate your submission, and I really believe that this should happen. Previously, we've had the trade unions having their own industrial strikes, and then we have obviously the Gen Z going on, and Morara on the other side, obviously mobilizing forces. So the question for you is, how can we achieve this? Do you think it would take the leaders of these individual groups to sit around a table and obviously formulate a plan? Or does it mean that the elements, i.e., their followers and such? I believe the latter would be difficult. So how would you appeal for the former, or otherwise any other means you might think, please?
I think many times before, like in the university, if there is going to be a demonstration to rally for whatever that they are doing, the first obvious group should be university students. The second group would be, since the Gen Z for a while, the government through abduction and extrajudicial killings has been trying to disperse them, then in the midst of all that is happening, we come and go and give solidarity. So that as the university lecturers are talking about this, and even county government workers who have also not been paid for a while, everybody must make it an issue. Because in other countries, you would have the Atuoli of other countries. That's why you have a central organization or workers group calling all workers to come up on strike. But Atuoli has turned out to be somebody like Raila Odinga. He very easily flies with those who are in power, goes to bed with them. So we don't expect that from Atuoli. So that the issue, like from tomorrow, for example, if the university people would be marching and you go and march with them, they will not be angry with you. They would be happier that you are doing it. And therefore, everything starts as an idea that there should not be a single group strike. A strike by doctors should bring teachers on board, should bring students on board, and other Kenyans who are in this space of agitating for reforms. We should say this is our opportunity. Try to make what we are making. This is what is happening in Israel with Netanyahu. You find very many groups congregating at the same time. You find groups who want him to go out, groups who want people to be freed from Gaza, and you find people just who thinks this or the other is not working in Israel. So that any strike that is there, the farmers disgruntled, we ensure that it is expressed whenever that opportunity comes. That's the point I am making. Well, it starts with the idea that the idea is out there, because like from today, some of these people are known. If you are leader of a certain group, for example, Morara, when he was there, and he said, if he's convinced that tomorrow, if you will be marching, we are going to mobilize. And during these spaces, you can be able to do that. We shall come and join you to push whatever agenda you are pushing. These are things that are possible. Many times it is a few phone calls and some mobilization, and it works. And you congregate somewhere.
Thank you, Senior Councillor. I'll hand it back to you, Mweru. If not, Rexy, please.
Yeah, so before we proceed, I wanted to bring, I was reviewing the Kenyan Constitution because at the moment, for us in the diaspora that live in the US, it's an election year. And at this particular moment, I wanted to talk about Article 89 of the Kenyan Constitution that references, which here in the US we call gerrymandering. And in Kenya, it's referenced as delimitation. And I was wondering if we still have Senior Counsel Kiba here, if we can sort of reiterate on this. As we demand for the IEBC to be reconstituted, is it possible to highlight to us how this can also be the delay and all the strategies they're using to where Ruto now wants to put in his people that he wants to be a part of that? What are the chances of gerrymandering being a key factor in the upcoming election? Because I mean, we can't. Here in the U.S., it's a big thing. We saw it during Trump after we had the census, and they did a lot of. They tried to come up with a lot of tactics to suppress votes using gerrymandering. Is that a big issue in Kenya that people need to be aware of, like we are over here?
Yes, gerrymandering is a big issue in Kenya, and that is why when Article 89 was drawn, it gives a formula on how to constitute constituencies. For example, there is a formula that would say that a rural constituency should be this small and this big from the median. So that you say, if it is the median is like 100, and you say that you can have a deviation of 20%, that means the largest constituency should be 120,000 and the lowest constituency should be 80,000. Now, to arrive at the median, you need first of all to get the entire national population. Then you divide it by the number of constituency that you want in the country, so that in the next, but the constitutional ideal is that as much as possible, the constituencies should be by and large of the same size. Now, having said that the Constitution of Kenya recognizes that what amount of deviation from the average constituency is permitted, the issue still remains that it is still for the politicians and now the IEBC, and hoping we have credible people who would be able still to decide how much variation is going to be permitted. And to address also the bigger questions, are you going to have additional constituencies or not? If you say we are going to have the 290 constituency, it might mean that the permitted variation would be insignificant, and that sometimes can lead to results in terms of the actual demarcation of constituency that is unacceptable to certain political groups. Because remember, many counties in Kenya, some that are very popular and some that have got low population, it is also reflected in terms of ethnicity. So that when you talk about all the constituencies of Northeastern, you are basically talking about Somali constituency. The same thing would appear to what used to be Central Province. You'll be talking about Kikuyus. So because of that, the issue of gerrymandering is still a big topic. We expect it to be a bigger topic during the next demarcation of constituency, which under the law, as I had explained, must take place. It is not something you have a choice, because as a fact, you do not have electoral units in Kenya because they expired in March this year. But Kenyans are not being told. So that even apart from the fear of gerrymandering, is the fear of a major constitutional crisis that could easily result in the extension of a term of office of William Ruto. That's a bigger danger to me. But the gerrymandering, I agree with you, is a big issue, but the constitution expects that some formula would be applied to limit it. It may not be possible to remove it completely, but the constitution expects that a formula that limits the effect of gerrymandering would be put into place.
Thank you. So the next speaker we have is King Josh, followed by Juza, then Marabo, and then Truth, then Vex. So let's try to keep it at 3 minutes if possible. Hello, Sir King Josh. Dropped. Juza, please proceed.
Hello. I hope everyone can hear me well.
Yes, we can.
Oh, thank you very much. Mine is a very simple comment. I've had comments earlier on in this space about finding people of integrity moving forward, to address the leadership issue. And I think the best systems in the world try to avoid that, because of course, we know from history that power corrupts and corrupts absolutely. And I think the best systems try to decentralize power completely, so that you never have to deal with that issue. You never have to personalities of people are never reflected in the leadership and in the administration of the country. And I think that would be the best way to take this country forward. I don't know how possible it is with IBC and and of course the other bodies. But you see, in the developed countries, the IBCs of those countries are not centralized at all. They're either state-based, county-based, or constituency-based, depending on the country we're talking about. So I don't know how easy or hard it is to address these issues in Kenya, but I would really, really hope that we stop looking at personalities and individuals and start looking at how to break power down and decentralize these systems completely. Thank you.
I think senior counsel can respond to that because he understands the law.
Actually, the point that has been made is a great point. The Constitution of Kenya expects that all organs, judiciary, IEBC, that they are going to decentralize so that the services and power and execution of duties can take place at the lowest unit as possible. Let me start by explaining that, strictly speaking, there is a sense in which, through the courts, we have arrived at a situations that elections are by and large decentralized to some degree. This is in the sense that elections in Kenya by law takes place at the polling stations, and the polling stations are basically classrooms. You have, if a classrooms, a primary school has 10 classrooms, you have like 10 polling stations. So if you have now those 10 polling stations, it means that whatever results are secured in those classrooms can actually be relayed easily. That these are the results that we obtained here. Then they are collated at a constituency level, then at another level. So there is a sense in which, from a purely technical point of view, there is some small devolution that has taken place, largely because of regulations of IEBC and the court's interpretation of the law. But the bigger point he was making, like you have in the United States of America, is where, like the state of California and the election officials in California are the ones completely responsible for them to be able to say, these are the results that you got from California. I believe that's a valid point, and this such an issue would actually make stealing of elections perhaps more difficult, because the centralization, like I was involved in the presidential election petition. And over very many countries, a lot of these petitions, there were like 9, I had one of them. The issue appeared to have been that during the transmissions of results, there were problems. And the officials in Nairobi were able to interfere with the election results. And that's why we are talking about somebody like Jose Camargo. Therefore, this such kind of a scenario would not occur where, for example, Baringo, we would be able to say, the total number of voters in Baringo were 200,000. How did people vote in Baringo? You get a final results from Baringo that is completely final, announced by the officials there. Then we get Nyeri. You are 1 million. How was the voting in Nyeri? Therefore, it's a great proposal. I do not see how the politicians that we have, how they would agree to do something that advances democracy and makes rigging a little bit difficult. But I agree with you. If you are to say that you decentralize the holding of elections and the announcement of results, this would be great for democracy, so that you would effectively be having 47 election officials who give final results in wherever that they are coming from, and who are able to organize everything. without now having an IEBC in Nairobi making all decisions, some of them biased, and some of them they are being agents of one of the candidates. So it's a great point. The day that is possible in Kenya, it will make our democracy better.
Senior counsel, one of the things I love about what you do here on Wednesdays is this good ideas we get. And I had said earlier before you came in, I don't know whether you heard me, that the position of the Prime Minister and even now the Chief Prime Minister did not exist. It's not even in the Constitution. But due to pressure, those positions were created. So what if we organize one massive space, a call to action around IBC, and we say we want the IBC reconstituted to reflect this, like what you've just said. I feel that is one way we can start gaining traction, because we've seen that this government only works on pressure. So let us apply that pressure. If we can hold one space and call people to action, all we need from your end, Wakili, is a good document to say these are the things we are asking for in regards to IBC.
I will board, and actually when I will try to seek Tony Gashoka off the forum, so that even the petition that he is talking about, there is already some court determination on the agencies to have the IBC. We probably need a broader petition, like to advance reforms, like in the case of Maina Kiai. It is a case of Maina Kiai that said, for example, the results in polling stations are final. We can also try to say, to have a petitions that would require IBC. I believe this is in compliance with Article 5 and 6 of the Constitution, where it can actually be compelled to ensure that the actual holding of elections is actually decentralized to the counties themselves, so that the IEBC has a sense in which Nairobi and the so-called transmission is not where everything is lost in the middle. And that would be a great thing, because it is much more difficult to say that you have organized theft in every 47 counties, but it is far much easier when you are told that, oh, these things are going to congregate at Bomas or elsewhere for final results to be announced by the Kivuitu who is there, or this Chebukati, so that you end up with getting a Kivuitu or a Chebukati who, when they go to bed with their favorite candidates, are able to announce them to be the presidents of Kenya. So this can be controlled. So probably we need to put some thought into this. And I thank the person who came up with this idea that we need to check what is happening in the US, and we try now to see what kind of a model law or agitation can we make to ensure that we narrow the capacity of the election of the vote leaves to do their thing.
Thank you very much, Okili. Amoro, back to you.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to that in terms of the Kenyan mode of election and system versus the US system. As I would say, for instance, in the US, they do a lot of voter suppression. It seems more difficult to steal actual votes, but it's so much easier to suppress people from voting and suppress the votes. I mean, I would say, for instance, now you have some states that, everybody is required to give an ID. Here you can even vote as an absentee voter, where you get your voters. You can send your vote in via mail if you're not able to go to the actual polling station, or if you don't even feel like going to an actual polling station, you can actually vote by mail. But on the other hand, we also have our issues. Like gerrymandering is one big one. They have issues where you have states, I would say specifically a state like Georgia, where they try to suppress the vote by limiting the number of polling stations, making sure the lines are so long, and then they ban people from even supplying food or drinks to people. So if you're a senior, you really do not want to go. There's also so many issues. But I think the one key issue that surprises me about the Kenyan election system is the fact, like, for instance, the IEBC is supposed to be registering voters continuously. I do not understand how they're not registering voters. I mean, if you're in the diaspora and you've been able to register for voting now, please let us know, because I've personally looked into it and there's no way for me to actually register as a voter. And I looked at the Constitution. That is supposed to be one of their responsibilities. So as we have this conversation, let's realize the key issue here is the fact that they're doing anything they can in their power to suppress your vote. This is, to me, in my opinion, the first thing they feel extremely threatened, because the youth, the population is almost 40 million. So they're going to try any ways and any means and any mechanisms in the next 1,053 days leading up to the election to make sure that they suppress your vote. So let's just be keen. And I see Nyati's hand is up. But after Nyati is done speaking, I have Marable, then Truth, then Vex.
Thanks, Moiru. Thanks, Anthony. I just wanted to ask a different question, if you will allow me. Senior Councillor, if you're still here and if you can hear me, or any other lawyer, I'm just conscious about the campaign financing article 88.4 section I, and I know that because I'm reading it, which assigns the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, the responsibility of regulating the amount of money that can be spent in an election. So, with the view of this fact, my question is, how much? Is there a limit? Is there an actual statutory limit that we can look at? Is that just a vague statement? And if there is a limit, therefore, how can we enforce this to prevent the way we conduct our elections? Because I believe money is a big factor as to why we always elect unscrupulous candidates. Please.
Hello. Okay, I've heard your question. I believe my recollection, IBC did something during the last election cycles, but this was through regulations. If I'm not wrong, the presidential elections, they said it was something like 2 billion, and there was something for governors and then MPs. I cannot remember the exact figures, but there were that during regulations. The problem is not the amount that is prescribed by IBC. The real problem is that the people who wants to steal elections, for example, there is a permanent campaign that is already starting. You hear Njorinjeke, people are being taken to Nyahururu. All these are campaigns. All this is costing money. Those regulations apply during what is called the election season, and the election calendar is usually about 6 months after the election notice is issued. That is the time when IEBC is in control of campaign expenditure. But you find that many a times, the bulk of the football, the mobilization of football teams, the mobilization of groups where they are lined up to be given money, government programs like these ones you are hearing, come and clear the rivers, come and plant trees. All these are campaigns by the incumbents, by those people who are in power, because they are never honest. You go to those campaigns, that is why they are not left to the chiefs. You get political actors, the presidents being as the lead of them and saying, vijana, ninawachunga maneno yenyu, I'm going to give you this, I'm going to do that. There is a quid pro quid that at the end of the day, if I took care of you using government money to give you something, the borders and everybody else, it is in return to something. This may not be done during the time when IEBC is supposed to be policing the political system. A lot of this is being done long before the election. But at the end of the day, having said that, the problem of money, even in, say, bigger countries, it has not been an easy thing to be able to control the impact of money. Probably the bigger issue would have to be the people themselves. The people themselves would need to decide whether taking some small favors during the campaign time is worth the kind of problems you are seeing in Kenya. People are promised heaven and earth by Kenya Kwanza. But now when you go like places like Central Kenya and you ask them, why are you crying? That you don't have virtually everything under the sun. The roads, they said, we don't hit roads. Now they are the ones saying there is no roads that are being built. So the people themselves are contradictory, because you can actually be able to decide. A lot of us, we have voted. I voted 6 times. Not a single time did I vote because I was given money. So it is possible for every Kenyan who is an adult, and it's only adult who signs, to decide that they are going to vote in a manner that is not affected by consideration of little monetary favors. In fact, as a matter of fact, there is no candidate who can be able to give all of us 10,000 to vote. So many times people are given 200. So probably civic education is the best counter check. Of course, there is money for logistics. That to have a serious presidential candidacy, you need a lot of money, because it costs money to move around Kenya, even to seek vote, to advertise yourself. But that is an evil that does not have a quick fix that you can expect IBC would make much of a difference. But the people themselves can mobilize themselves and say, Senegalese have done, in Ghana they have done, in Madagascar they did it, where you decide no, under whatever circumstances, we are not going to have candidate X, however rich and however much you are able to bribe people. The Kenyans can rise like other people over and above considerations of money and bribery. It is possible so long as you are patriotic and so long as you want to see a different country. Because unfortunately, politics is the kind of game that unless so many of us want change to come, change will not come. That is the tragedy of the situation.
Thank you, Senior Councillor. Next speaker, please.
Yeah, I hope I'm coming through.
Yes, you are.
Thank you. So, Nyati, I think we had a law which set a ceiling for political funding. However, we live in a country where the control of budget just told Parliament today that her life is in danger. This is the controller of budget, an independent office. And the funny thing is that her life is not threatened by bandits or rebels. Her life is threatened by the government. So it's really, we like Morara said earlier, we are democracy has been suspended. The rule of law has been abrogated. We are just living on a free fall. So. And Mweru, let me remind you that the IBC is also supposed to carry out civic education, both at home and in diaspora, which they're not doing at the same time. So apart from adding to the register of voters, they're also supposed to carry out education, civic education, on all these 48 counties that we have in Kenya. And they are funded to do this, yet they are not doing it. But what I wanted to ask Senior Council was, I have gone through the 2024 Act, IBC Act, amended, and I've gone through the Article 88 of the Constitution. What point does public participation come in when we are looking for the commissioners? And then, secondly, what can an individual go to court to challenge the appointment of an IBC commissioner after the process is done? If an individual feels that they're dissatisfied with the process, can they institute a legal process against an IBC commissioner who has been appointed by the presidency? Lastly, let me thank Tony Gashoka, Anthony, Mweru, and all of you guys, because today, for the first time in a space, I've felt that we are ready to make an impact. With the Law Society of Kenya and the lawyers saying that they can down their tools so that they can restore the rule of order and justice in our country, and having senior councils and people like Tony Gashoka make a commitment to their country, That shows me hope, and it gives me a lot of energy to do whatever I can on an individual basis, and also to collect my people around this. And let's try to hold these spaces more often. I don't know why Point Blank is on every Wednesday. We should look for another day of the week, because times are dangerous and times are serious, and we should meet more and talk more. Thank you very much for the time.
The senior counsel, Mara Bustok, thank you for your wonderful compliments. Mara Bustok asked a question. If you're not satisfied with the commissioners, is it possible for us to go to court? But then again, I ask myself, if we go to court, aren't we delaying the formation of the IBC, which in turn works against us?
Actually, what happens is this, there is an elaborate process for the appointment of IBC commissioners. And there is also a process for removal. Ordinarily, the check before the appointment process, unfortunately, is that if it follows the procedure prescribed by the Constitution, then you must wait for them to do actual sin that can be the basis for removal. So it's not something like they get appointment in October, then you apply for their removal, because the process of removal presupposes that he has done something wrong. So for the time being, our only issue is to ensure that the appointment process gives us people whom we can say are credible enough for purposes of giving them the benefit of doubt to do their job. Because a Kenyan man or woman would have to occupy those positions. Let us hope that the best in terms of integrity, in terms of capacity, actually get the job. Because the last time, part of the failure of IEBC was that you had people's girlfriends, people's nephews, people's uncles becoming IEBC commissioners. Some of them had no clue what the job is all about. So the appointment of IEBC commissioner can be the difference between having a credible elections and not having none. It's not the kind of job that you should say my daughter or my cousin should do it. But that is what it was reduced to in the last election. Because even in the last election, something that people don't tell you is that when you had 3 IBC commissioners who are people of capacity and were supporting William Ruto, the friend Uhuru and his group, Raila, they had an opportunity to get 4 people who could make a difference. But you had what are basically 4 clueless persons, 4 sheep, to go and try to cross-check 3 hair. And you get the disastrous results that you got. Because you must know the job for you to help, for you even to do it at all. So that was a tragedy. So it really matters who are the commissioners. And the process not to be corrupted. I hope nobody is thinking that, I'll get my girlfriend or I'll get my niece to that job. This is a national job. But some of these things are never taken seriously. So appointment of commissioners, you must get credible people. There are no two ways about it. Otherwise, failure would start there. Because even integrity, if you are a clueless person, chances are that you will take your confusions to IEBC and the country will be the loser. So I agree with everybody saying that you must fix this thing from the appointment level. Thank you very much.
While we proceed, may I say something? I kind of wanted to piggyback on the reference about campaign funding and integrity. I'll give an instance when it comes to the US, where we have all these gun issues, but gun control can be resolved pretty easily. But just the fact that the KRA funds most of the Republican people and their campaign, they're limited on the kind of rulings they can make. And as a result of this lack of integrity, you see a lot of things happen where you have mass shootings at schools. Why? It's not that we can all come up with regulations to stop this. It's just because they're funded by KRA. So so as we proceed, the idea of integrity is very key, because as we fight for the IEBC to get to work so we can register people to vote and people can get their IDs and be empowered, they need to understand that you need to vote for the right leaders. It stipulates in the Constitution, if you have any criminal issues going on, you should not even qualify as a candidate. Right now, as we're speaking, Ruto does not qualify as a candidate to be on the ballot. He has no integrity. Ethically, he does not qualify. So he should not even be a candidate to begin with. So as we proceed with this conversation, I am so happy to see initiatives that young people are taking up to file petitions to get this ball rolling. But as the ball starts rolling and we start registering new voters, let's remind people integrity is key. We need to look at people's characters and actions. We can't vote for criminals and expect different results. Otherwise, we're going to keep repeating this cycle of being in spaces and complaining. But I'm glad we're having initiatives that are coming up with solutions. But the next speaker is supposed to be Truth. Please proceed, and then after that we'll have Vex.
Okay. Good afternoon. Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Thank you for this opportunity. For me, I'll try to be very brief and direct to the point. First of all, I want to thank everyone who is here and everyone who is taking the initiative personally to clean up the mess that we are in as a country. As we speak right now, not everything is okay. Not everything is working as it should be. Kenya is on the wrong path. And I used to be one of the people who thought or didn't mind whatever was happening, as long as whatever I was doing personally, it was working for me. But it reached to a point that I came and saw that if whatever is happening in the country is going the wrong way, definitely sooner or later it will affect whatever I'm doing. So I took the initiative. For me, it is just basically telling the truth. That is something that it doesn't happen even in our country that much, starting from the top. And however it is, it has to be said. On the issue of reconstitution of the IEBC, I think it should be a multifaceted attack. What do I say? It is very urgent. We need individuals, as Mr. Tony had said, we need the LSK members. They need to push on their end at the court level. And knowing how Mr. Mastago is, if you are to counter or have anything productive against him and the system, you have to think as they do. Sorry to say, you have to be smart. And being smart, it doesn't necessitate that maybe you're part of them, no. Because if we look clearly, we need a strategy. And if the strategy is maybe one item that maybe will get those people in power to listen, then we need to put all our energies there. We need to be together, because tuko pabaya on a serious level. Tuko pabaya. If we need to go to the courts and others like us, we do the civic education. If it's going to the streets so that they listen to us and do whatever is needed, I can say, so let it be. For me, even as we're pushing this agenda of the constitution of the IBC, we also have to look at the ground. The masses need to be educated. They really need to be educated. And whatever is happening, we need them to know. Pale, people at the grassroots. Because I had one friend of mine, he was very candid with me. We are friends, but maybe politically and ideologically, we are not the same, but there is a point he raised. The problem that we have, we brought it upon ourselves from 2012, 2013. Whatever decision that we made, it is affecting us right away. And the only way we can try and correct that is through the ballot. From election of our MPs, MCAs, governors, even to our president, it is upon us. So, if we elect someone of questionable integrity or character, don't expect roses from that. And that's the truth. Now it is upon us to decide what kind of a country do we want? What kind of a future do we want to live for our kids and grandchildren? And that's why I've taken upon myself, wherever space I am, try to make a difference. Okay, for the individuals who have been tasked for the suggestions that have been brought forward, let's work on them and even see how we can have another space, come and look at our progress, re-evaluate what we need to be doing, what have we done, the progress that it has taken us. If something is not working, how can we tweak it so that we try and see and get those tangible results and try to move forward. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not cutting you up. But one of the things, I think you're new to this space, one of the things we do, like today we've said LSK, which that team will be led by Senior Counsel Kibe Muigai, who heads the Mount Kenya jurist, and Wakil Endeavor. They have said they'll do a petition tomorrow together with Tony Gashoka. I can assure you, by Friday or latest this week, it will be out.
Okay.
Another thing I really try to encourage is whatever we have here, this space is not owned by a certain age group or a certain demographic. It belongs to all Kenyans. Because if we want to succeed, we must, and I've said this from when this movement started, we must leverage on the wisdom of the old, like Senior Counsel Kibe, and the energy and vigor of the young. So when it comes to planning a successful mandamano, the old can plan better. And when we bring in our ideas, it becomes even a better mandamano. Because our organization will cut across years of experience. Does that make sense to you, as truth?
Yes, it does. Very much.
Yeah, and that is what we want to achieve here, and I can assure together we shall achieve it. Because I will be keeping in touch with Senior Counsel Kibe and Tony Gashoka.
Okay.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask if you've landed so that I bring in the other speakers, because it's getting late. We have 30 more minutes.
Yeah, the point has landed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Truth. Muero, you can circulate the mic.
Yeah, as we proceed, let's not forget we're referencing to the reconstitution of IEBC. We have Senior Counsel Kibe here if you have any questions. Also, we've attached the IEBC Amendment Bill 2024. All need to be very vigilant and stay on top of these bills that they keep passing. So we attached it up here because we need everybody to read this. So we are all on the same page and we are all aware. So the next speaker is supposed to be Vex. Vex, please proceed, and let's try to keep it at 3-4 minutes. Vex, are you still there?
I can't hear Vex. We can go to the next person.
Do we have Spence? All right, we'll have Mr. Kilimanjaro.
Thank you so much, Will. Thank you so much, Tony. The two major key issues that I've picked up in the conversation are number one is on the issue of constitution of the panel, which is very key and critical. I remember there was a discussion some time back on, and I think Wakili has put it very clearly that if we get, or if we get, or if a bad committee is put forward, then definitely the results will be definitely bad. So that is a key area that I think people need to be vigilant about. And it is good that the petition being put forward by Tony, Wakili Ndegwa, Wakili Kibe, has to more or less look into that. The other component that Wakili also brought forward was the issue of the expiry of the constituencies. That is something that we have to pick up very, very fast, because I think that is something that more or less the executive understands, and it is something that actually that has not managed to, make its way into the limelight. So it is something that more or less it is a card for them. So that is something also that I think the petition has to make sure that it focuses and make sure that the constituencies. Actually, I would actually propose that one of the recommendations that the petition should put forth is that the constituencies are reinstated. Then after that, now my observation is on I think the electoral boundaries. That is a case that I think it was supposed to have been around March this year. Something was supposed to be done around evaluation of boundaries, and a review and evaluation of boundaries, which never happened. So that is also something that I think the petition has to make sure that it focuses on, because as it is, we need revisions of the boundaries. That is a very key issue, especially going forward to the next election cycle. Last but not least, and this is to Tony and Mweru, I would want to recommend that the next, or maybe in the preceding spaces, we don't just focus on one issue, because the way I see an election, it is a process, and IBC is a component. Having participated in an election previously, I noticed that there was an issue of how bodies within the electoral cycle don't, more or less, they actually don't. I'm looking for a good terminology to more or less define this. There's an uncohesive working relationship between the bodies within the electoral process. Now, for instance, there's a coordination and information dissemination that should be there between IBC and EACC when, like Moira was talking about integrity issues. So EACC is mandated to look into integrity issues, and it is supposed to hand over that report to IBC in time before IBC gazettes a candidate. But that doesn't happen. So you find that a person of maybe without a person who's not fit for office, based on integrity issues and stuff like that, will make his way up to the election and even get elected in office, and then a case will have to come after, because the process, the information exchange between IBC and ECC may take a lot of time. So you'll find that the guy is got in office, and then the issue will come up after maybe the guy is already in office a year or two years down the line. So that is happening, and that is something that I would recommend the petition to look into. There has to be a working relationship and symbiotic working relationship between all these components within the electoral process to make sure that data information is shared on the right time before the election day or the actual election day. So mine is just that. Thanks guys for the good work. Let's keep this going. Very interesting, and more or less we'll join in on the next piece. Thank you.
Let me just respond to the recommendation about selecting topics. We try to be to focus on one thing, come up with solutions, then we proceed to the next. When it comes to the election, correct me if I'm wrong, the priority right now is to get the IEBC back up and running, because people cannot register to vote, and then we need to pay keen attention on how they are constituted. So we tend to select topics based on prioritization too. What is taking precedence and what is a key issue that we need to focus on. So that is one of the explanation. But as we proceed, I have a quick question for Senior Counsel Quebec. According to the Constitution, the election is supposed to be held the second Tuesday of August. So in essence, the next one is supposed to be 8/8/27. I counted the days yesterday. We have 1,053 days remaining. What are the odds that Ruto will come up with some way of delaying the election? Is it possible that he might even have the capacity to do that? And then after that, when you respond to Fulani, we'll be talking next.
I think the issue is this. Sometimes there are people who are hungry for power, and people who are hungry for power, they usually behave like ticks. Is that whether or not your candidature is viable for the country, or you are still in a position to govern the country well, it is still possible you would want to hang on to power for your own reasons. And this is why the incentive to steal an election is great. As of now, as we speak, there was somewhere where he was yesterday or today, where he's asking people to vote for him in 2027. All these things that are happening in Nyahururu, in Meru politics, Kuyu Meru politics, Embu, they all have everything to do with the 2027. You cannot imagine this is a country where his government cannot be able to give money to counties, university lecturers are on strike, Linda Mama is over, everything is collapsing. The treasury is actually going broke. It is the truth of the matter. And therefore, there is no doubt that when it comes to motivation, he does not see how he can be a one-term president, even on the basis that you have failed the country. Because you see, very often, you can be able to say that I cannot be able to do this. But that is also tied up, in my view, with the fact that you are also having a country being pushed in a directions whereby things would fail to happen. Like now, all this long period it is taking to reconstitute IEBC. And what would appear later on as a natural crisis would have been triggered by the kind of so-called innocent things that are happening right now. Because the truth of the matter is, you cannot have a new constituency without some review of some kind, because it is the review subject to a certain formula that gives you constituency under Article 89 of the Constitution. And therefore, we are not in a happy place as a country. Some of these things are not innocent, but there is a lot of big job to do to be able to explain to people that these actions, the ideas are taking forever, because on one hand, and you're having a bad propaganda, you say, oh, we shall give people a week, 2 weeks, but the reality on the ground, I had somebody earlier on when I was struggling to be a speaker, people saying, you applied last year for an ID, you're not getting IDs. There is voter suppression. So the truth of the matter is the incentive to steal election, there is incentive to trigger a crisis, and the end effect of all this is to justify why you should be in power, even outside the constitution. So there is a lot of work to be done. You cannot solve any problem that you have not defined it properly. With IEBC, I still feel that defining the problem properly and everybody else understanding the nature of it is the first thing that must be done for us to know what is it that we should do as a country so that we do not fall into a trap. But traps are being made for us. The correct interpretation of the law is this. We were not supposed to have new constituencies by March this year. What was happening is this, that in March this year, we reached the maximum period for the validity of the existing constitution, which means that in the next elections, we have a window of opportunity between March and something like August 2026 to be able to come up with new constituencies. The current period is enough, but we have already wasted 5 months. So that even the correct interpretation of the law would be important so that we are able to understand there is a job that must be carried out by August of 2026, because the constitution says electoral units must be in existence 1 year prior to a general election. That means August 2026. So I thank the forum for the fact that we can educate each other, we can point out at the dangers, how to improve the electoral system, and to mobilize each other as to the dangers of the crisis and the ambitions of power that exist in Kenya, so that we can be able to see whether it's possible to make a difference for our country. Thank you very much. I hope I've answered your question.
In Council, I love what you said, that we should be able to define the problem. So I wanted to request you, as you make your petition with Tony Gashoka, I would love for you to define it for us, the way you've done it right here. That's my number one proposal. Number two is, in this definition, I would love for us, as we post it online, is there a way we can talk to a larger audience? And here I'll actually suggest that we involve the media, the major media houses. So that now we have almost like, what is it called? A press briefing where we say, this is the petition we have, and we let Kenyans now know what this petition is about. I feel that would be a more effective approach. Council.
Within a week, I can prepare a paper to point out what is it, where the problem lies, as far as Article 88 and 89 of the Constitution are concerned, with regard to the Constitution of IEBC, which we can share. That is something I'm able to do. So, yeah, I thank you for making the proposal, but we can be able to do, because minus defining the problem, we shall keep groping in the dark. And as long as you are in the dark, you don't know how you will be hit, or you do not yourself have a proper target to be able to understand what's up. But we are being psyched up, being set up for a trap where the constitutional crisis is triggered. And you will suddenly be told, oh, we can't do this because the law says this, so we have got no other choice. We need 2 more years to finish what the constitution is what we are supposed to do. This is coming sooner or later.
Thank you, Council. I have DM'd you my number on the host you're using. So I'll be very happy to get in touch with you in person. Back to you, Mweru.
Yeah, as we proceed to Fulani, I apologize for this because you're speaking next. I just wanted to keep emphasizing on this. We already have experienced what happened when we are not attentive. Of course, in 2021, they passed the Public Participation Act 2021, which is what they're basing the Adani deal on. So that's why I keep pressing. As Gen Zs, the information is on our hands. We need to be very, very attentive about these bills they're trying to pass, and especially now, because I feel like it's easier for us to stop them at the public participation aspect of it versus waiting when they've been passed and enacted, and now we are on the other end of just reacting and responding to this when we could have initially taken the initiative to stop them to begin with. So we already know there's a few bills that are passed. For instance, the subject we're having today about IEBC. For you that have not been on this space since the beginning, they already passed a bill in 2024 in regards to the IEBC. And I need everybody on this space to read it, because we need to be very, very vigilant, because these people, everything they're passing right now, remember, it's not to benefit the regular person. It's not to benefit the regular Kenyan. It is all for their own gain. They passed the IEBC Amendment Bill 2024. We've pinned it up here because we need to educate ourselves and so we can have grounds to react and to respond to some of these things and have more understanding. So I have Mtu Fulani, please proceed.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, go on. Yes, we can, but your background is noisy.
How about now?
Still noisy.
How is it now?
Still noisy.
It's noisy. I'm outside, I mean, it's quiet. There's no noise.
Now it's quiet. Now it's good. Now it's good. Go on.
Okay, so, I've listened to everyone, and we're having a lot of good proposals, and but I feel like we are looking for textbook solutions to this thing. And for me, my view is this thing doesn't have a textbook solution. There is no textbook solution for this. We have to think out of the box, and we have to think. Bwana FC Guido has mentioned it in passing a bit, but he doesn't want to hit the nail on the head, so I'll just go ahead and do it. I'm seeing the result, we just have to go back to the street. It's good we push maybe 20% or 30% we push in the courts and do petitions and do that, but that, in the end of it, we'll need to go back to the streets. And these people have already shown their hand. Because the more we go to court and try to petition parliament, it means we are playing into their game. Because even if you look at the bills they are passing, even for Mandamano, there's assembly bill, which is also still there. It's still there. I think it was on the second reading. That one is still there. And they have shown their hand. They don't want us to. They're clipping all the ways that people can use to fight back to the government. So we need to be very realistic about what options we have. A lot of solutions that have been proposed here are good, but it will take a long time to come through. And we should be focusing on the next. Yes.
Sorry for interrupting you, but I think there's a point you never got. So Senior Counsel Kibe will prepare the document that's supposed to. It's a two-prong attack. We have it in court.
I don't have a problem with that.
And we have it in the street. So the street will apply the pressure for the court to move quicker.
Yes, but we are playing into their hands. We will get it, and they will also find a way. They'll always find a way. That's why even Morara was trying to tell us, we can do what we can as far as the courts are concerned, but eventually I am seeing we're going. Anyway, the petition is good. It's better we get it out of the way. If it succeeds, good. High chances is it will be ignored, or it will stay in one way or another, because these guys don't sleep. They have control of everything. But it's good to try. But in the end, we are all going to go. We just need to go back. We all end up going to the street.
Sorry, I don't want this to be an engagement, a monologue. We did a petition to the court according to in regards to the Adani deal. Okay?
Yes.
Most people are saying exactly what you're saying. My DM was full. Tony, what you're doing will not work. Today, Adani requested Kenyans who are in court, that is us and LSK. He was saying he doesn't see why we are there, yet it's not a done deal. But he said he paid 6.5 million shillings for the deal. So it means the court works because it's low. You see, it's very easy to go around Mandamano. It's very difficult to go around a well-structured case. Because a case is like mathematics. It works on facts. So when we say public participation was not done, and we produce the facts, when they look at the submission we made to court, the reason Andani is reacting today is because he saw what the petition that we have in court. Ruto is smart, but we are giving him too much credit. He can't be smart more than 8 million Kenyans. I give him the credit, he's smart. But he's not smart more than all.
That is okay. That is okay. But look at what is happening on the other flip side. On the flip side, the IG is asked to produce 3 people they have in custody.
No, but you see, now you're mixing 2 issues. Mtufulani, you're mixing 2 issues. As we went for the Adani deal, it is working. We did not go to the IG deal. Now we are here trying to go for the IBC. Why IBC?
Yes,
because I feel Masengeli for now.
Because you're talking about Adani, you're talking about IBC.
No, I'm trying to show you an example. When you say what we are proposing here would work, we first of all deal with Adani. We went to the court way and it is working. Okay? Because Adani has actually responded to that case. Before he was not talking. But to our case, he has responded. Okay? Now, the reason we are not dealing with Masengeli for now is because we have scheduled IBC. Why? Because Masengeli is not a national issue. IBC is how we get good leaders. So if we get the IBC right, we get a good outcome in the electoral process. Okay? So the reason we are focusing on the IBC and the reason we want to use the court is because we can see a loop, we can see a space. Okay? That is the space we want to take advantage of. But we've put Kenyans in a phase where we've made them believe that Ruto is so bright, no one can outsmart him. When in this space, we outsmarted him once with Adani. Mutufulani, I can assure you, as the sun will rise tomorrow, we shall outsmart Ruto on IBC. And I can tell you can take that to the bank. Because there's something he did not figure out, which we can. Okay? And that's why we want to say, we want the IBC reconstituted quickly, but we have a formula of what we expect, the threshold of what we want. I don't know whether I'm making sense to you. But if we get preoccupied with Masengeli and Rigathi Gachagua, those are side shows.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tony. Let's remain objective. And also, Mtufulani, let's understand one thing. Doing something is better than not doing anything. I know we've been conditioned and we have reasons to believe that the judicial system is going to fail us, blah, 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 blah. But it still does not mean that we do not file any lawsuits, especially when it comes to certain things. We have to do what we have to do. Any action is better than none. And especially when it comes to dealing with corporations like Adani. Legalities taint their reputation and they stay as a record. So as much as we're going to the streets, that is not the only vehicle or mechanism we can use. We have to maximize on every option we have. If it takes going to the streets, let's go. If it takes filing petitions, let's go. If it takes the lawyers dropping their tools, we have to do everything we can do. It's a cumulative form of action. It's a collective. So we cannot amplify one and minimize the other and try to convince people not to pursue initiatives that we know will work and will exert some form of pressure. So I understand what you're saying and we see what you're saying. But still, it should not be a reason for us not to take any cause or any form of action legally. It should not be a basis. And these are the things we keep addressing. We have to unlearn a lot of things. We have to unlearn one thing that people say that elections don't work. Elections work. We just have to fight for them to work. And this is one measure we can take from the very beginning.
I didn't finish what I was saying. I was saying that is great. Let guys pursue what they can, but that should be 20-30%. 70% be ready to go back to the street because this guy will not take it lying down. It's great what is done with Adani. Adani has gone again and gagged Nelson, but it's okay. The fight is on. He is not alone. He has support. And I'm not blocking anyone from doing any petition. I'm just saying, be aware. Have a plan B. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
And we're
Try
not.
this. The sooner we try that, the sooner we do with this petition, the sooner this petition is done.
1 second, to Fulani. You have not been on the space from the beginning. We had Morara here, and we agreed. The people want to file the lawsuits. Him is going to try and rally people up, and just like everybody else will, and we all hit the streets. So we understand what you're saying.
I was here when Morara was talking, and he said he has no hope in that avenue. But if you guys can, even if the legal fraternity can lay down their tools, that is even better. That is even better than any petition, by the way.
But
And
to
that's what
find
he's
that
trying
is
to
what
say.
we are working on.
That's okay. I said
That is what Senior Council here said. Sorry, I think you are following and not following some parts. So, Tony Gashoka has said that him and Senior Council are going to petition LSK that they down their tools. And then Senior Council said not all lawyers will do that, but he guaranteed he can assure 30. And Dego will assure others. So we can get around 100. Okay? Now, once we have this 100, that's a good number. Now, the reason we want to use the law is because you realize before Ruto does anything, he first of all changes the law, meaning he respects the law. He knows how effective it is. Now, once Senior Council and Tony Gashoka formulate that, we shall partner with Morara Kebaso. Why? Because Morara is very good on the ground. So we shall have covered two things: the law, so that government cannot go back there and meet us flat-footed, and we shall be on the streets.
I think you've made your point very clearly and it makes a lot of sense. He's even left it, so he's not in here anyway, so just carry on.
Yeah, you can saturate the mic, Nyati.
Yeah, let's hear from Kay.
Is that me?
Is it me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you guys for all you're doing, Anthony, Moero. I was with you on some space yesterday, Nyati, and I think I just got on the mic to say that the course that we've so far agreed upon seems to be so much falling into place. The way I could summarize it is say these young men need us, need everyone in our generations, the millennials, the X's, and all the professions, which is something I think I've been deliberating for a very long time. It's just that I didn't have the guts to say it because sometimes you don't have the confidence of speaking out. But today it actually came out, and I like that it actually came from Tony, and Morara is so much willing to, and it's something that has been so much like a subject from when we started talking about the IEBC to how we'll get to concentrate all our forces together towards getting this solution, a long-term solution now to the country. So I think we just stick to that subject, and if really I get on a space that I don't understand well, sometimes it's just good to listen. You know, we tend to create a lot of confusion by having so many engagements, which kind of even dilute the whole conversation. But I think we are on course, and I think I have more confidence in knowing that I have people who are well learned than I am, who actually get to see the need of us forming one umbrella we can all move forward on, attacking this, whatever. It's like having streams that lead to one river, then to a river, from a river to an ocean. And I believe it's the very same way we're going to oust this monster we have in Kenya right now. So let's not have these engagements of I think it's wrong, it's right. Let's look at the glass half full, not half empty. It's going to do most of us who are very desperate mentally to have a little bit of more confidence in knowing that there's someone who's ahead of me who actually can give me the confidence, even though I don't think I can be able to get out there. And for that day, there are many guys who are, some guys are in the diaspora, some guys don't get on the streets, some people get on the streets, some go to court, some pray. We just concentrate and bring all the forces together, and eventually we'll get to that goal which we all want, a civilized and Kenya that has a good law. So, story akona story more, but it might not, it will not. Let's think positive. Thanks.
Thanks for your submission. And as we proceed, we have Senior Counsel Kibe here. So if you have any questions, feel free to come and ask. So the next person is Realness. Please proceed. And then we'll go from there. I'll have Kim after you.
Maybe can I ask a question, please, before the next speaker comes on, if you allow me?
Sure, you can.
Yeah, Tony had sent you this question, but you didn't. I think you haven't seen it. My only question was, of course, from where I sit, I think these political parties in Kenya are a business. And we pride so much in saying our constitution is more borrowed from the first world country, which has only 2 parties. What are the dimensions or the logistical implications if, for instance, Kenya would just embrace having 2 parties that are not owned by individuals who now get to even talk of a partnership in government, that we know it's only X fighting against Y, and those are the 2 forces we go under. Because even as we proceed on this, Gen Zs are talking of having another party. We will have our own party again, given the fact that nobody's thinking of Kenya Kwanza Alliance or the whatever these alliances are. And now it's going to be, we had 20 in 10 years ago. In 50 years, we'll have 100 political parties. Is there a way we can just consolidate and have 2 giants in the room that go against each other? Thanks.
Marabustok, you can answer that.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
So, first, number one is we have over 90 parties in Kenya at the moment. There are that many. We have what you can refer to as briefcase parties. And to understand the reason why there are so many parties in Kenya, you have to go back to the era of Moi when we were a single party state. And when people fought for multipartyism, it was considered that it was a democratic step towards the right direction. Unfortunately, as it happened, the selfish nature of human beings and all this, we had powerful people disagree. And you remember from Ford Asili, Ford Kenya, we had other small parties. And the issue is that the law did not want to put a caveat on the number of parties in the political space in Kenya, because they felt that with the historical injustices that had happened, political parties and people in politics should be given the opportunity to form if they attain the requisite number, which is 1 million signatures, before you form a political party, and to deposit some money in the repository to show that you can run your party. So most Kenyans can do this, and as it stands right now, it's a democratic right. If you can manage to register a party and you can manage to get 1 million signatures, it's your right to have a political party, even if it's a briefcase party. However, I agree with the fact that we need less parties, especially since parties are ideological and based on policy. So we can have people with the same manifestos, let's say like how we do it abroad, and we say this is the left and this is the right, you know. However, with Kenya being what Kenya is, knowing you, knowing me, it's really hard, and the fact that the law does not prevent people from forming their own parties. So it's really very hard, and that's why we go back to the questions of the referendum and the amendments of the constitution. But are we ready to have that under William Ruto? I don't think so. Thank you very much for the time.
I mean, also in response to that, if we pay key attention, it ultimately results to almost only two candidates. Eventually, I mean, in the last case and scenario, it was just Ruto versus Raila. So somehow it ends up shaping itself in like a two-party system in the long run. So yeah, do I think it's feasible for Kenya? Do I think it's advisable? No, because having lived in the US where you only have two major parties driving their own agendas, and there's no way to create another party to around that, I would rather, I mean, I am pro multi-party system. But anyway, I hope your question got answered. I saw Council left, but the next speaker was supposed to be Realness, and then we'll have Kim, and then Ayo. Realness, are you there? All right, Kim, please proceed.
I can see Realness is unmuting the mic. Oh, Metro. It's okay. Okay. Thank you very much. I enjoyed the discussion. I've been following for quite some time now. I wanted actually to to support that move to sanction the courts about this reconstitution of the IEBC. And it was on that I was to add really that even as Morara promises us he can be put to task to rally Kenyans if it gets to such a point, then I think we'd do well if we cultivated a favorable ground for Morara when it comes to that time, and also putting this government on notice by having this reconstitution of IEBC as the next thing that we should flood our timelines with. Let it trend around here. I can also call upon the host to communicate with other people who hold spaces. Like for tonight, there were like 6 or so spaces. So you can try get hold of the Amerixes, the the Moraras, the KOT Sonkos. Let us make this reconstitution of IEBC a topic of discussion on the timelines. Let the government bloggers see that we are really damn serious about this. Let Tony Gashoka do his court thing. Let us continue pushing it online here. And then by the time it gets to a flashpoint, they really know that the threat that is overhanging is not just a mere threat. Then I think we can use those pressure points to pressure these people to really fast track such thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim, for your submission.
If I may add, we must also remember that there is a law, the law on protests, which says that the person organizing the mandamano is strictly liable to any damages and anything that happens during that mandamano. So, like Anthony said previously, this government works on the future. The law that they're trying to come up with right now, you know, is trying to ensure that anybody who takes charge of a mandamano, like the way our comrade has said that he's willing to bring people together, so he becomes liable for anything. and with the infiltration of government, bringing goons and everything, they ensure that there is maximum damage that is going to happen. So going to the future is going to be very hard for somebody, and that's why I allowed Morara for being courageous enough to say that he's going to do this. Going to the future with the laws that are coming up, it will be very, very hard for even somebody to contemplate saying that he can bring people to the streets, because the laws are about to become really stringent. That's why for us as people, we should become very, very conscious of what is happening in the legal fraternity, and ensure that we challenge all laws that we perceive that are against human rights, because human rights are not just Kenyan, they're international. And us, when we are in diaspora and when we are at home, we ensure that we look at the legal system. And remember, you can petition parliament from anywhere in the world. Whenever they are making laws, you don't have to be in Kenya. You just have to write an email to the legislative, to the Speaker of Parliament, and you challenge a law. Thank you very much for the time.
No, you made a point, because people need to also look into that story of Greta, the famous global warming young lady, and now she's bound to go to prison for almost 4 years because she called for protest about global warming. So, and that's why I keep pressing. I was on KFT space and we agreed on this, that people need to start creating one big space where we address one bill, so that when it comes to public participation, we understand what's going on. And in relevance to today's topic, let's not forget to read the IEBC amendment of 2024. So Ayo, please proceed.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How are you guys doing? Hope you're well. Quite amazing points. I took my time to listen to you guys for like an hour and a half, and you guys got amazing ideas and ideologies, which really is, we need them at the end of the day. There's a point that I want to put across, that it's a very unpopular opinion that most of you don't want to hear, but it's the damn truth at the end of the day. That issue of, and I'm not trying to discourage anyone. Kindly underline that. That issue of bringing KOTs, Kenyans on Twitter together, and these, Twitter bigwigs together to hold the mouth of all spaces. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you guys that we are Kenyans, and being Kenyans is our business, and we know these bigwigs, how they are. Most of them don't even like each other. Most of them can't even see eye to eye. And we've seen that. And this has been evident for the past few months, whereby we were supposed to have a space where all of us were going to be there. And when it reached time to host the space, we had like 3 different spaces at the same time. And I was like, okay, I thought you were speaking from the same, from the same book. So we still have a long way to go in terms, on matters unity and speaking from the same voice, because we also, what happened, during, when one of our tweets hosted the president, and everybody was furious. We thought we said that we're not going to host the president and all that. So you see, at the end of the day, guys are literally speaking from different books. And now, like, the government has, is trying to, amend the constitution in terms of, matters, picketing and so on and so forth. They wanted us to find a centralized place in the CBD to picket, just to, to cut us off completely, and when they said, who is your leader? And what did we say? Because do you know why they wanted the leader? Probably to either bribe the leader, or, you never know, the government can do anything. We've seen them kill us, so they're capable of doing anything. And once your leader is gone, what else are you left with at the end of the day? So, with that said and done, there's that issue of political parties. Again, according to the Kenyan Constitution, we have over 80 registered, and kindly underline that, registered political parties. Yeah, and these political parties are registered because they're attributed to several factors. Probably some are ethnic based.
Some are, decentralized because of say decentralized political landscapes. Some because of historical context, coalition politics, youth and emerging leaders. They want, like now, the Moraras of today, the Casmuels of today. That's why we have different, emerging political parties. And for us to get back to where we had Kanu and Kadu, for example, I think it's going to be a bit difficult because everybody has their own interest when it comes to politics, and we should all agree to that fact. Everybody at the end of the day have their own interest. So that's why, and even some are projects for these major political parties. For example, remember during the COD, and now we had the Ruto's political party. It was rumored that guys like Akina Wajakoya were projects, for example. They were projects of other political parties, kuharibu kura, to deviate the whatever's attention. Yeah. So you never know. Even, and people are saying people like Akina Kasmuel are projects of other politicians. So let me not be quoted, but those are some of the issues we are facing. So for us to speak from one book, it's going to take us a long time for now, but we're going to do what we're going to do, right? So back to the main topic, where I found you guys discussing about the reconstitution of the IBC. You know what, guys? There's a major reason why the president is delaying this process. He has his major reasons, because ameona mbele. That's why he's finding it difficult to reconstitute this thing. And once it's reconstituted, he knows what's next. So the more he delays it, the better for him. Okay? So this is just politics in play. I think so. So I think as Kenyans who are very mad at the government, we really need to pick one thing and go with it. If it is reconstituting the IBC, then we need to focus on that, so that we push and push and push and push, and whatever happens, we want the IBC reconstituted. Check. After it is reconstituted, now we find the next chapter of all these endeavors. What are we doing next? Yes, the ABC is now reconstituted. We have all the commissioners, and we have the chairman in place, and now we are ready for an election, for example. Now what next? Now that is when we bring the Moraras of today, the Casmuels, and anybody else who wants to vie for a political seat, because we already know what they stand for. We already know their values. But if we keep on going to the streets, Ruto must go. Ruto, guys, we have a constitution. We are the same people who keep on saying that we have a damn constitution. If we play with the books, they also need to play with the books. And we know this government does not play with the books. And that's why someone said, if there are people who are gonna fight for the constitution for the reconstitution of the IBC, let those guys fight. If there are people who are gonna support the Moraras and civic education and all that, let them fight, which I completely support. But at the end of the day, we really need to learn to speak from one voice. Do you know what this government is enjoying? The confusion that we have right now. Others are like, and by the way, they really enjoy the fights on the TLs. Dakamoja, we are fighting the Kasmuels. The second minute we are fighting the Moraras. The other minute we are fighting the Hanifas. The other minute we are, so there's a lot of confusion, and we are speaking in tongues. We cannot understand each other, and that's where we are here right now. So if we learn to speak within one language, and we get to understand each other, will give this government a huge nightmare. A huge nightmare. They won't even sleep, because Kenyans are now speaking they're speaking from the same book. So I feel, from where I sit, if we could just sit down and focus
and forget about the tribal nonsense we're speaking about on the TLs and fighting each other on the TLs and all that kind of stuff, then we'll start focusing on what do we have on top of our list of to-do things. What's important on the to-do things? Reconstitution. After that, let's get a political party. After that, let's see who's capable of doing A, B, C, and D here and there. After that, we move on to the next with itinerary. And with that, I know there's less time, but with that, I believe we are taking this government down by
Is it only me who lost
those disciples from the Bible? They were speaking in tongues, they couldn't understand each other. We need to understand each other.
Go first, Mweru, then I'll come in.
No, I was going to say, I can't hear him. It looks like he fell off, but I mean, if he comes back, I do agree with him. We need to be intentional.
I see him.
Oh, okay, he's back. Are you done?
I was there a long time ago. You guys couldn't hear me.
No, there's like a point we lost you.
At what point?
We need to be intentional. That point.
And we need to have a laundry list. Now it's IBC.
A checklist.
And fighting for.
Yes.
And then we start, after the IBC going, we demand for people to be registered to vote. We start fighting for IDs. We have to have a list and check off one task at a time, one step at a time. We cannot be all over the place all the time. That's too much randomness. We need to read that book, Essentialism.
You see, Mweru.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
So, with the intentionality, with that point of intentionality, we really need to have a checklist of the things we need as the people of Kenya. As in, let's speak from one voice. Number one, let's speak from one voice and understand each other to the point that, guys, we have the reconstitution of IBC right now. The commissioners, Wamingizwa, the chairman, is he there? Is the IBC independent? Let's make sure that it's independent and the people who are there are accountable. And they're not serving anybody's interest. They are serving the interest of the Kenyans. Yeah, we need to make noise until the people who are put there, we are satisfied with them. Because we want to serve. Our taxes is our lipa. So we need to make sure that whatever they are doing is according to the constitution. They need to represent Kenyans like fully, ethnically, region-based, and so on and so forth. And they need to be very independent from the president, from any governmental whatever, so that we know that our watu wameko hapa juu, they are going to serve the interest of the Kenyans, not these politicians. Then after that, we ensure that people are being given IDs. IDs za watu ngapi zimeshikwa? Ziko tu hapa, zimeshikwa. Na watu wapewi IDs. We need to make sure that all the IDs are dispersed to the various owners. And then after that, we go for elections. Unaget? Because we spend so much money on elections, yet we never achieve anything during elections.
Ayo, one of the things, am I audible? Give me 100 if you can hear me.
Very audible.
One of the things I realized is that anytime we were doing something, is we never took a particular thing and followed it up to the conclusive end. And that's one of the reasons we came up with this space. So right now we've taken up IBC, and I believe it will be one of the longest spaces we hold. Why IBC? Because it solves everything, Ayo. It solves the leadership in this country. It solves corruption. It solves almost 90%. We will not deviate from this. We shall move from how the IBC is reconstituted. We will move what Kenyans need to be part of the elections if they are eligible using their IDs. Another reason which I asked Wakili before he drops, he said something very important. Define the problem. And I asked him to define it for us in a lawful way. So once he does that, he has said we give him 1 week. He will do it on a paper.
Like you write it down, so that now once you present it to this group, which I will share on my space, and once we open the space again, I'll share it. Kenyans have a checklist on what to do, and then we go by that checklist, one item at a time. We say these are the people we want in terms of commissioners and chairman. This is what they should meet. And how do Kenyans now participate in a credible elections? IDs check. Polling stations, we want them physically. We don't want a bush with a fence and a gate which miraculously produces votes. If we are that systematic, we shall be checkmating William Ruto. Because one of the things I noticed as I learned, Kenyans have gotten this fear that William Ruto is the brightest man in the 50 million plus Kenyans who exist. No one is brighter than him. We cannot even try to counter him intellectually. And that is why we're in this space. Because I and everyone else, I actually believe we can. We just need to play the game he's playing, and we can do it better than him. Can I add on something pretty fast before Moru goes? There's that thing that you said that Ruto has sold this ideology. I want to tell you for a fact, politicians, they play with our minds. They create an ideology, repackage it very nicely. It's like PR. If you've been in the world of PR, you repackage something very nicely, sell it to the public as this is the best. Then we believe Ruto is the best. Ruto is the most intelligent man that ever lived, the way he presents himself. And that ideology is sold not only in his own home ground, but also in various parts of Kenya and beyond. That this guy is so smart, politically smart, or he played his cards right and all that kind of... No, guys, come on. This guy, all I can say, this guy is a narcissist, he's a mind player, he plays with people's minds like crazy, and we fall into his trap every single time that he goes there. And that's why he decided, oh, you know what? Kenya has the highest population of Christians. Let me get through this. So najana mimi ni mtu wa Mungu. Ama namna gani, my friend? And we fell for that. Kama yeye ni mtu wa Mungu, na ule mtu alikuwa anakunywa pombe, si yeye mtu wa kanisa atatusaidia? Wapi? We've seen fire. Hellbent fire, and that's why we are here now. So we know we don't need. By the way, Kenyans we really learn to separate church from politics, as much as religion from politics, as much as we can. Because at the end of the day, yes, religion, it could play a role in politics, but not for now, Kenyans. We've seen what it has done to us. Because at the end of the day, how many religions do we have in Kenya? Why are they not well taken care of? Mbona si Waislamu ama Wahindi, Hindus or whatever, just Christians here tunakuwa manipulated. Let's not fall for that manipulation. Thank you very much.
Yeah, as we proceed, let me put a few things to perspective, because I said this last night in a space. People keep talking about 2027 like it's so far away. And I think we need to stop referencing to it as 2027 and start counting how many days we have. We have 1,053 days. I had to sit down and count them yesterday. We are out of time. We are out of time. So when we say the IEBC takes precedence today, when we're talking about all the issues that are going on, it's for a real reason. We have 1,053 days to go. The youth, we have 40 million of us. 40 million, estimated 40 million. So if we don't start fighting for the IEBC now, we prioritize after the IEBC is reconstituted, which it's supposed to be up and running anyway. We're supposed to be able to go and register for voting. I don't know whether people are still being able to do that. I have no evidence of that happening right now. Then we have to demand for IDs, because you need your ID to be able to register to vote. I know some places you can register with your birth certificate anyway. Let's start with the IEBC. Like we said, we prioritize, we execute, then we proceed to the next problem. But let's bear that in mind. It's not 2027, because sometimes your brain, it registers like it's 2027 days. No, we have 1,053 days to go. So we have 1,053 days ultimately to get Ruto out of power, or start planning on taking him out with the election. What other option do you have? realistically speaking. So in terms of the next speakers, we have realness, followed by nothing, and then we'll have Mohammed. I don't know if you said, but realness, please proceed, and then we'll have nothing.
Hi, Anthony. Hi, Mweru. Can you guys get me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So thank you so much, Mr. Anthony and Madam Mweru, for hosting this space. I'm going actually to prioritize on actually 3 agendas that I actually during the whole of the space when you guys were hosting it. So let me start off with the recent one, the one which Ayo was actually saying about the big wigs, about like having all the Twitter influencers or the Twitter people like hosting a space. So for the last, I think it's 2-3 months, I think it's 2 months we have been having the hashtag that has been running across all social media. Okay, let me be precise on X, the one for the Ruto must go. So yes, a few minutes ago, there's actually a friend of mine who sent me the WhatsApp group. We usually have a WhatsApp group. So I think his history happens to repeat itself every now and then. So back at home, he was actually telling me that because obviously from where we stand, we're actually saying that we want this particular hashtag to trend, but from where they usually stand, they usually given, I think it's 1,500 every one of them for a particular day or for their particular hashtag. She was actually telling me that I think from tomorrow, if not tomorrow, from Friday, the hashtag that is actually going to be trending is the things are working under Ruto. Okay, she has not actually given me the particular hashtag, but she has told me that it's more of a hashtag that is going to be praising the leadership of the president. So and these were among the people, because she actually sent me a screenshot of like some of the people who, from where we are, we usually think that they are in support of whatever we are talking about here, but they're usually the number one people to like bring us down whenever we have an agenda that we want to push through. Now, when it came to the one for the Adani, she actually told me that she assured me that within maybe this week or next week, obviously it's going to reach a point that the hashtag that is obviously going to be among the top trending in the trending list, in the trending page on the X, it's actually going to be the one for praising the leadership of the president, saying that this particular thing, the president started it off, and this is the progress. So it reached a point that we obviously noted that the legislature had actually been captured, and we went to another extra mile and saw that the executive, obviously, because it's obviously another arm, and obviously we knew that 2 arms of the government had actually been captured. So it reached a point that we're actually saying that the judiciary is obviously going to be the one to back us up. But Anthony, if I can like juggle up your mind right now, take an example, because you actually had a debate with someone else who was actually saying about the judiciary. We're not supposed to be totally supportive of it, but check on it right now. Even if you are saying that you're not going to talk about the IG, when the president, the moment the judiciary say that percentage hike in the fuel, in the taxi, in the fuel is it's not supposed to be passed, the president actually told the judiciary, I'm the president, so obviously everything is going to pass under me. And before he was actually sworn in, he said that he's going to respect each and every arm of the government. So right now, the moment we say that obviously we are going to be going to the to the judiciary, expecting them to do something, let's just use the perfect example, the recent one for the IG. Right now, the IG was told that he's supposed to be taken to prison, I think something of the sort. But who are the ones who are supposed to implement it? It's the police. The police obviously can't go to the Abuse's office and be like, yo, my man, you have actually been told that you're supposed to be in prison. Tell me, Mr. Anthony, if it's possible for the police to actually go to the office of the Abuse and tell him that he's actually supposed to be in prison. Of course, it's not possible. So at some point, I'm actually seeing that the judiciary is not having that much power as we are expecting it. So so far I can actually say that
obviously we are saying that we have good causes that we want to be implemented, but at some point we usually say that we are the ones who are usually the kingpins of making sure that all the emotions or all the things that you have in mind are actually more of a downfall.
Sir, realness, sir, I don't mean to interrupt you, but what is your opinion about the reconstitution of the IEBC and what is your take on this? How can we get the issues related to the IEBC solved? What are your propositions about this?
So obviously I think you guys have also seen it within the Eastern African countries that the presidents obviously they're really trying, like most recent one was for the South Sudan. The moment they were actually trying to push, the Salva Kiir actually pushed like the elections from a particular year to another particular year. So coming to our country, obviously, imagine like it's something that we obviously know and it's something that we actually studied, that whenever maybe an MP dies or an MP is elevated to a particular position as the state, as the situation right now, the moment the MP was elevated to the CS, we usually know that there's supposed to be some form of election. I think there was a particular constituency that had actually been said that they have not been having their MP for a couple of months. So I'm actually going to support something that I think Mr. Awad actually said, that obviously the president, the moment he delays to reconstitute the IBC, obviously he has a hidden agenda. And I assure you, obviously, even if he decides to choose the panel by a year or so before the election, obviously, I don't know if using the word puppet is the right one, but I don't think there's another word. So obviously, one thing that I can say, if the president and the opposition decided to choose their own panel, I assure you are not going to be going to the perfect path, because Madam Mary would actually say that in US you guys have the Republicans and the Democrats, which is actually working very well. But coming to the UK, obviously there are a couple of parties. Coming to Kenya, obviously we can't say that we want only two parties in the country that can actually be able to handle the whole country's issues. So from where I stand, I could actually say I think having two parties only in Kenya is not actually going to work. But coming to the IBC, having only two sides, both the opposition and also the ruling party choosing their own panels, obviously I can't see that one working. So yeah, that's what I can actually say about the IBC.
Yeah, thanks for your submission. We appreciate it.
I think he was next.
Good evening and good morning, everyone. I'm actually surprised to see Anthony on space at this hour. This must be very important for him.
I'm also equally surprised, Kay.
Yeah, your bedtime is around 10 o'clock and you're very strict on that. But anywho, good to see everyone. As usual, I salute our comrades we lost, the injured and Kenyans at large. It's so difficult being a Kenyan right now. So difficult. IEBC. We need to wrestle this monster for sure. What troubles me is when the IEBC said that they lack funds for registration, simply because, of course, the government is aware that there's going to be a landslide registration and probably a win for Genzote. But how can we continue to see money being hemorrhaged in government? But then they say that, we should follow the rule of law, but they refuse to fund IEBC. We need to look into that. Then secondly, and that's a matter that should be pursued in court, because the IEBC has already pronounced itself that they have no funds for new registration. Yet we are saying everybody needs to be a registered voter. So that deeply troubles me. Number two, sensitization should continue. And at this point, we should think about who will be the representative for the youth at the IBC. We need to scrutinize. Today scared me. I'm overly exhausted about the fallout I saw on the TL. Well, it's very disappointing. It's also a blessing. You know, when people show you who they are, you should believe them. So we need to, like, there's a space, I was on a Mount Kenya space with Anthony, and Anthony, forgive me, but on that space, you convinced me that you can be a leader. Before, I was just listening from afar and a fence sitter. But that day, in fact, I was supposed to have reached out earlier. I've tried processing it, but I was convinced you were a leader on that day. But now we need to have a very critical scrutiny of people we want to have as representative on any issue. The country is bigger than anyone. When people get lost in the movement, and you know, we've talked about space elitism, because I don't see the crime of what Morara did. I don't see the crime on the money he's being sent. At 28, a gentleman is married, has a successful business, and is living his life. So the time he's donating for civic education, we can never afford to compensate him for that money, because they say time is money, because it doesn't matter how wealthy you are, you can never buy time. We need to end this. We actually held a space, I think it was last week on Friday, about conflict resolution. And I was telling people, unfortunately, we will end up with a lot of people who feel entitled, and it will lead to a very severe fallout. And when that happens, we will not have time to regroup and salvage ourselves. That said, it's time. Of course, a lot of emerging leaders all over the place, but looks like emerging is not enough. We need to scrutinize character. And at this point, we need to think of who will be our advocate, our representative at IEBC. Besides that, we need to understand grassroots mobilization. As much as politicians spend money, the actual movers are the people on the ground. So we need to identify grassroots mobilizer, people who have influence, people who have charisma, people who are willing to put themselves out there, because that is where we will gain or lose the votes. And I suggest, as we try to imagine, you know, I don't think we should no longer speak about 2027, but we should prepare as though it was tomorrow. So let's think of consolidating funds and pay the grassroots mobilizer. Let's see the grounds we can gain. It is okay to have like a national symbol, but we need boots on the ground. We also need to think about what are they called? I forget. These guys who are in charge of following up that your votes have been counted, not returning officers. The guys who fumble ODM elections, the guys who are not paid. I don't know whether it was. It's not
agents.
Yes, agents. We need to think about agents, because can you imagine? We make a last minute decision and then these guys are bought. We will end up. Today scared me a lot. I was actually determined not to ever be on a space again for some time to really understand what is going on, because it's so difficult to be a Kenyan on any day. We wake up to different crises, and they are not enough. It's like they're trying to stretch our limits. But can you imagine a second term of the same? So we need to figure out how to consolidate funds, and I suggest the kitty should be in the diaspora, because at the opportune time they will freeze those accounts. We need to spread to spread our what are they called, dice, for simple reason. if something happens, say, to our central figure, and to even protect Morara, we need to support other leaders everywhere so that we reduce a single person being the person of interest and target. And I'm not saying like we should reduce our support in him. We should severely support him because he has put his life on the line for this. But we need to start taking notice. Like Anthony, the space we were in, you realize Lynn is the female version. In fact, she's a crazier version of Morara.
Nothing. Can we please stick to the IEBC? How are we going to get this thing handled? Because we can talk about everything else. I'm sorry to interrupt. We can talk about public education and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, if people cannot register to vote, people cannot get IDs, how are they going to express their opinions and their voices?
Well, I hear you, but I've tried. If you've been with me on spaces, you realize when I embark on an issue, I try to...
Yeah, we can.
Yeah,
before, allow me to land, Nyati.
I'll just speak from a very level perspective. I actually think that people having their voters cards and them being registered is their own individual civic right. Whether they're going to vote for us or not is another matter. So if we are trying to give power to the people, we must give that power to the people and let them do whatever they wish to please, whatever they please to do with that power. So, I understand that it's true that if the IBC is not reconstituted and we don't get it correct the way we've already discussed here, then it's pointless for us to give them power only for them to vote for the wrong person. But it is their civic duty. It is their right, which we are actually trying to hand over to them. I think that's what I wanted to submit on that there. Thanks.
Okay, what I wanted to say, because we are discussing IEBC, all those components I've mentioned, the grassroots guys, returning officers, agents, all those fall under IEBC. IEBC does not, basically consolidating votes does not work in isolation. We have to figure out all that. If we miss one step, if we have a misstep, then we will jeopardize an entire outcome. And I learned, and thank you guys for having the space on this subject, and I support we should keep going. And yes, I'll be joining the space because I'm interested on the subject. I thank you.
Well, and Nefti and everyone else, I think one of the things is something I think Ellie said, I actually wrote it down. Let's prepare for 2027 like it's tomorrow. Then Mwero said it's 1053 days, 1053 days to the next elections. Actually, when you put the two together, Kenyans will see you have 1052 days, now I'm counting today in Kenya, to start preparing for the next election. So it's true what Mero is saying. Let's remove the year and work with the days. And then all this energy, and I sometimes feel like Ruto is very good. See, when you have one big fire, how do you stop that fire? You start another fire. So that when the two flames meet, they extinguish each other. Ruto has clearly mastered that this movement has a very short concentration span. Very short. So Ruto is very good. Ruto can manufacture a crisis for you. Why? Because he knows the moment he manufactures one, you move from what you're talking to the crisis he has manufactured. That is something we need to ask ourselves. Are the crises we are seeing being manufactured? So in regards to IBC, I think the call out should be on, we wait for Wakili Senior Counsel Kibe Muigai. I'll get in touch with him through Tony Gashoka to prepare the document for us. Then there's the declaration Gashoka has said. Then we push young Kenyans, because I saw the ministry said it will now take 10 days for you to get your ID. Now let's push a Kenyan going to apply for the IDs and they document the number of days. So we have Kenyans, you go, you apply for your ID, you take a photo and say, now let's start counting to 10 days. If we apply pressure that way, now then this army will now have its weapon, which is its voter the one tool they need to vote is their ID. I think that should be what we do. Those are just my thoughts as I go back to Moero and Nyati so that they pass the mic.
No, I completely agree. And as we fight for this IEBC, let's not forget tomorrow people are going out to protest. So this is also subject for that. Like, you're already in the streets, let's first start advocating and fighting for this. My other proposition is simple. We can just declare October is ID registration month. Because we can be on the streets demanding for IDs, but we still don't even know if people have gone to apply for them. Yes, we've heard of stories, but can we set a target? Like we say, so next month is October. I can't even think of how many days October is. Let's have a number. We want how many youths out there that need to register for IDs. We set a number and we set a goal. And we have all these people register. And then, if they say the IDs are supposed to be produced in 10 days, we don't receive them in 10 days. We get back on the street and start demanding and fighting for them. This government is not willing to give anything. We have to fight for every single thing. And we need to remain very, very intentional, very, very, very keen on everything. All these side stories they're creating, all these distractions they're creating, let's not waste our energy and time on this. Let's not. Let's stick to the mission. This week the mission is IEBC. You guys have agreed you're going to file a petition. We have people going to the streets tomorrow that can also take up this initiative. And we stick with that. And then after we're done with IEBC, like we said, we go to the IDs, because I don't think people can register without IDs, unless I'm mistaken. And then we keep it at that, and we just stick to one thing. We fight, we accomplish, we move on to the next. Otherwise, the more we scatter ourselves, the more we distribute our energy, the probability is very low of accomplishing anything.
I think next is Western.
Anthony, thank you so much. Greetings to your listenership. Anthony, all over the world, elections are organized by the state. And that's why where elections are credible, that is indicative of the credibility of the state actors. No other entity can organize the election. So IEBC is an extension of the state, such that in some jurisdictions, even elections are organized under certain ministries. But because state actors and the society is invested in the credibility of elections, no one dares steal elections. In our case, that is not the case. If you read the Kriegler report, vis-a-vis 2007 violently disputed elections, he says that the electoral body must be up and running at least 2 years before an election. If not, they cannot be a credible election. Fact. From where we are, there will be no IEBC before the expiration of 2024. So that leaves you 2025, 2026. Get out 2027. So you've got exactly 2 years to the next election, and the IEBC is not in place, is not functioning. So there is no infrastructure for organizing elections in Kenya as we speak now. Look, only clumsy governments, state actors, steal elections on the material day. Astute governments, state actors, steal elections long before. So the conversation we're having now about IEBC and the Constitution, that in itself is indicative that the elections are rigged. That's what it happens. It happens way before people wake up to go and cast votes. That business about who has got an ID, who will be registered, who has got a voter's card, and those kind of things. That is how elections are rigged. It's not on the D-Day. And therefore, this is one process I can put it to you, that Ruto knows he is in charge. He is in charge of this one. He can stagger it. He can sit down and see at what point exactly is he going to reconstitute the IEBC. And exactly what does he have in mind to achieve? Because he can draw from the history of the contested elections we've had in the past. And where he's seated, he thinks that this is one election he can't lose. Because he won an election when he did not have a seasoned opposition actor on his side. Now that he has him on his side, he cannot lose the election. Anything can happen, he can't. So, I think the work is cut out. And that one cannot be minimized. It's cut out because we can draw from history. It's cut out before he's been at the center of these elections. He knows the skullduggery that people do around these elections. He's been at the center. He's alert because he knows the kind of mammoth opposition he faces from the protesters and, the constituency that wants him out after 5 years. So he's aware of the threat that he's facing. So I think, yes, I admire the optimism, but I'll put it to you that any political process that the state actors are in charge of, it's almost next to impossible.
Western,
for
give us some solutions, Western. Solutions.
No. There are no solutions about these things. I can tell it to you. There are no solutions.
So how are you able to identify a problem and not be able to articulate a single thing you can do to help solve that problem? So are you suggesting that we sit back and lay back and not do anything? Is that what you're suggesting?
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm suggesting is that we must think, because the Kenyan political elite have not been doing it.
Yeah, we know that already. We all know that, and we know what we are afflicted and what we are facing, but we're here to come up with solutions.
No. Kenya, I don't know. No, I can tell you that this language of solutions in Kenya, it amounts to lazy thinking. I can put it to you mildly. Lazy thinking.
Western,
yes.
Hear me out for 1 minute.
Yes, Anton, go for it.
I don't believe Ruto is smarter than all of us. That's just what.
Neither do I. I haven't said anything like that.
Let's go step by step. Now, the difference between Kenya today and the Kenya that voted in Ruto is the awakening in this country and the resolve by the young people. That is our genius stroke. All we need to do, and I remember when I started hosting spaces, a young man said, Tony, we have the energy. We are the engine of change of this country. If this country is a vehicle, we just need guidance. And that's where the senior councils on this space come in. Now, I've never asked for a mandamano. Never. I support them, but I've never taken the initiative to organize and ask for one. But on the issue of IBC and IDs, trust you me, I will organize one. And I will organize it in a way that will make Kenyans and the government say, you know what? Give those people the IDs. Why? Because this government, and I tell people all the time, we did not have the office of the Prime Minister. It is not even in the Constitution. Neither do we have an office of the Chief Minister. It's not in the Constitution. But once a crisis is created in Kenya that is well organized, and I've always told people, the one thing that William Ruto fears is a person who is organized. And that's the reason on the 25th he came on Spaces. Because he thought we were organized. He thought there was someone organizing all this. The moment he figured out there's no one, then we stopped being a threat to him. So what we need to do is tell the young people of this country, Gen Zs, millennials, and Gen Xs, and every Kenyan who feels afflicted by this government, that the only way we shall change this government in 2027 is every Kenyan who is of the age of an ID to get an ID. It is not a request. It is a constitutional right. And if we consolidate Kenyans, because that's one thing I know that can consolidate Kenyans like the finance bill. You are saying 10 days, IDs will be out in 5 days. The same way you process an ATM card in a bank within a day. That's so quickly. And an ATM is more complicated than an ID, for that matter. All we need to do, Western, is organize better and have a clear-cut strategy. Because that is what has been lacking so far. We start one thing, we stop it, we start another. Now we are going to go IBC step by step until we get to the ID. That I can assure you. And we shall win. And we shall outwit Ruto.
Anthony, can you hear me?
Weston, 1 second. Let's be objective here.
Anthony, see, when you're doing strategy, let me put it to you. You must concentrate on the worst case scenarios. Worst case. What if? You know, let me put it to you. I at some point asked, at that time it was an ODM diehard in the run-up to 2007 election, when it was clear that Kibaki will lose the election. So I put it to him, what if he doesn't concede defeat? What are you going to do? Or what is ODM going to do? And he told me, no, that cannot happen. It's inconceivable. Well, the rest is history. So when you're doing strategy, you concentrate on the worst case scenarios. What if these best laid strategies of yours don't work? What if? That's what Raila Odinga has never done. When he goes to elections, he thinks he's going to win, but he never concentrates. What if the people I'm arranged against play dirty?
So what is your proposed strategy going forward? Because I'm looking at your profile, you're a political analyst, so you should be generating solutions and methods of helping us. So tell us, what are your proposed solutions to what strategy?
Whether I'm being heard well.
No, we hear you and we're listening to you, but this is supposed to be your area of expertise. So what do you propose as some of the solutions?
I don't deal into solutions, because solutions do not want to.
Why are you challenging people who are busy trying to come up with solutions if you're not able to generate any?
No, I'm not discouraging anybody. This is freedom of speech, and in freedom of speech.
Okay, hear me out, Weston. Well done. Good riddance. I just wanted to say, gentlemen, okay, we're here for a fighting spirit. We're here to encourage each other to continue plowing forward. We all know that the enemy we're facing has phenomenal odds against us, but we are not those fools to stand on our feet and just get mopped over. Okay, so this is what I'm telling all my peers here. I never came into this space to be discouraged. I never came into this space to be preached at, but I came into this space to find solutions. So let's find these solutions. However high the wall, let's just keep going. Even if we're crying tears and we'd rather cry tears than bleed later on. This is for our children. I was a bit pissed off with that person. Anyway, I think the next speaker, I don't know who was the next speaker, please.
No, yeah, I agree with you. A lot of us, it's easy to spend time and waste energy and waste people's time engaging in reasons why something will not work. We can all come up with 600 reasons why what we're doing will not work. But that's not why we're here. We're here because I do not want to waste my time. Let's emphasize and let the trajectory be. We're here to find solutions. People are going out of their ways to file petitions. People are going out of their way to be on the streets protesting. What are you doing besides taking up people's time and space in spaces discouraging them? Be useful. That is my point. Be useful. If you have nothing better to say, that's okay. You have a right to feel how you feel and have the same and whatever opinions you have, but just keep them to yourself because they're not helping in any way. Let's try to be useful. And that's why I appreciate people who are taking up initiatives like Anthony, hosting this space every week to come up with solutions, come up with topics and subjects that are very relevant to the issues that we are facing today. So if you're here and you're a listener and you want to be a speaker, we want to hear solutions. We had Morara here and he was very clear. we need to be very, very aggressive and diligent and intentional. And we cannot be that if we're entertaining certain people who just want to take up and waste our time. Anyway, the next speaker is Shooks.
Hello, Maniskia. Hello,
Yes,
Mark. Okay, so nilikuwa nimejoin hiyo time Morara alikuwa, then I got some issues, then nikatoka, but I'm back. So I found Western talking about we don't have there's nothing happening, there's nothing will happen. Mpata hapo mkimwattack juu anajaribu kuleta, anafanya turudi desperation time tulikuwa. So nili graduate like last year, time nili graduate ukianza ku apply jobs man Kenya hakuna hopes. So from November to around hiyo time maandamano ilianza, me and my classmates tulikuwa too hopeless due everyone is trying to maneuver their way into life. Then hiyo day yenye maandamano mazee, I remember hiyo day before the 25th, I think maandamano ya kwanza kuna space niliingiaga, maandamano ya kwanza kuna space niliingiaga around 3, and wasi walikuwa so scared kutoka hiyo day. Walikuwa wasema tutaenda tushikwe ama tukufe. Ilikuwa ina seem impossible, you know. Then maandamano ya 25th ikafika ile yenye tulikuwa tumejaa tao, and everyone tulikuwa like shit, kumbe sisi tuko important hivi, tunaweza fanya something na kila mse atusikize in our nation. Na from that day, even around my friends, when tulikuwa tuna feel like tuko it's over for us maze, kila mse alianza kufeel shit, kumbe kuna chance, kumbe tunaweza kuwa something in this nation. Then unapata wasi wengine hiyo time wenye saizi tuna feel maze, sasa ndio tuko in the mood sasa ya kutake over. Nakuja unasikia wasi wengine talking about ati hakuna solutions. Nimekuwa nikifuatilia about our history for hii time yote ya maandamano for long due. You can I'm a data analyst na you use your data, unatumia data, historical data to predict the future. Ukiangalia history yetu, Kenya is a very inakuwa a very important nation in the African, juu ya especially ile time ya Mau na tulikuwa tunajaribu kufight about the Mau wakifight independence. The greatest threat ni hiyo wakati the common person awakened, anajaribu kuturn against the oppressor. Ili attract everyone, for the history, ili attract everyone from the west and the east. Na hiyo time World War imeisha, Cold War inaanza. You know, Kenya, all our leaders walikuwa wanajaribu kugrabiwa from the west and the east. Na ilifika time yenye mpaka the US, the western nations ilibidi waanze find solutions. Juu tukikosa kwenda saidi yao, tutaenda saidi yao tukikosa kwenda saidi yao capitalism, tutaenda saidi yao socialism. Na all easy solution, all this Kenya tuko nao ilianzia from the ground. Wase time waliamka wakasema fuck it, lazima we do something, no? Inabidi hadi yule oppressor aanze kuwapea some solutions. Then saizi as much as Ruto on hizo power whatever, hata like hiyo time saizi the moment tunatokea with an objective yenye I think ni Anthony anasema, tunatokea na objective, tunasema we are going to run a street ideas, na everyone anatokea ama a certain objective. Na like the same way we did the finance bill, broke out ungesikiza around April about your finance bill, Ruto alikuwa anatishia kila mse, anakuambia au ma MP sana waambia jaribu ukose kusign, you know. Hadi before niliona before like a week around hapo June, kuna time nilikuwa anaitwa June mse anakuwa na King'ang'i ndo hairagwaji inatageni again, exactly, you know. kuna time wasa walikuwa na call in kwa hiyo show yake wanasema sasa tutadu huyu jamaa hatuwezi mshinda, tutadu we cannot do anything. Kila msee alikuwa convinced mzee Ruto atatufuck. What did we do? Wakati tulitoka kwa street, as much as bado napitisha hizo mabili huko nyuma ya whatever, huko kwa mlango ya nyuma, si juu tu kutokea tu kwa street hiyo time na tukafight as much as life ilikuwa lost. Eventually ali succumb to pressure na so the same way tukitokea go with an agenda, tuseme tunataka IDs na tunataka IBC, tukae hapo, eventually succumb to pressure na maybe hakutakuwa na much change, but lazima kutakuwa na some changes. Na hiyo ndo eventually with that pressure tutaachieve. But ukikamwanze kusema ati there's nothing we can do, so tukae tu hivyo bila majobs, wewe ukishikwa mazee. I work in a liquor store na bro, ukiwa kwa liquor store ndo unajua damn Kenya iko na wenyeji. Juu kila time wewe unawakiaga wasi fulani, you know, then so tutaendelea tu kukaa hivyo. Tukisema hakuna solutions, tunaendelea tu kufakiwa by everyone. No, lazima wewe tulifanya hiyo method ina work. That's why unaona kila time kuna maandamano. Leo kuna maandamano ya wase, leo kesho kuna maandamano ya wase wengine, sijui tea farmers. Juu wameona hiyo way ina work. The moment kuna pressure, every leader succumb to pressure na lazima give in. Doesn't matter who it is. Na hadi time ya Moi, the moment we achieve the multipartyism, it's pressure. Wase waliamka, as much as there was life lost, wase waliamka na eventually tuliachieve. That's why tulipata hii constitution ya 2010 from that multipartyism, na it'll take a very long time. So hatuwezi kaa tuseme tu tutaka tu hiyo. Yeah, so msee provide solutions, man. Lazima utufenda common goal, tuweke pressure hapo, to exert pressure hapo, na eventually kama ni IBC to exert pressure hapo, na tuko tunajua IBC ikiwa reconstructed, we are going to do this and this and this, is wase wengi wamesuggest hapo, then eventually najua tutawin. Iko tuna
So before I call it a night, let me just be very brief before Western comes back in. Moi, I'm fortunate enough to have seen the Moi regime collapse. I was born in 1985. Moi was more powerful than Ruto. He was more of a political genius than Ruto. Moi faced a disintegrated opposition. We had Malakaroa, we had Matiba, we had whoever, everyone was in his corner. The moment those guys realized that to defeat Moi we must come together to repeal Section 2A so that Kenya becomes a democratic state, that's the day the tides changed on Moi. And Ruto is a student of Moi, so much so that he started shaving bald like Moi, walking like Moi, dressing like Moi, and he thinks and functions like Moi. And I say that with a lot of confidence. Okay? Because one of the things I did is I've done my homework on Ruto. A very good homework. Now, to win against Ruto, we must redo what the Matibas did to defeat Moi, and eventually Kebaki did. We must come together across this country like we did on the 25th. And when we say that young people like Shokes want good jobs, a life of dignity, and that guarantee is given to them by the ballot, I can assure them that that Kenya is possible. That future that he sees is doable. It is on us. People, and that's the reason I keep on saying, that's the reason I have people like senior lawyer Kibe Muiga on this space. Because he has seen a history I don't have. So I can learn from him. What we need to do, Western and everyone, because Kenya is back to where we were in 1992 and in 2000, where the spirit of change was sweeping across this country. From Central Province to Kisumu to Moyale. is we combine the brilliance of people like Kibe Muigai and Tony Gashoka and, Mweru and Nyati, and everyone on these spaces. We combine the mobilization strength of people like Morara, people like Cyprian Nyakundi. We combine all those strengths because we don't share the same strengths, but we are fighting the common enemy. And that time is coming very soon. And now we focus and say, just like the people in 2002 knew to do away with Moi, they needed to recall Section 2A, repeal Section 2A. For us to do away with Ruto, he has already identified his greatest weakness. It is the young people of this country. And that's the reason he's delaying their right to vote by delaying their IDs. So we need to start this topic on reconstitution of the IBC, our next pressure point, and we shall achieve it if we fought Moi, who had a constitution that made him more powerful than an emperor. Then Ruto is nothing. The next thing will be to push for IDs, not in 10 days. I keep on saying, if a bank gives you an ATM that is more complex than an ID in a day, then an ID can come out in the same day. And if you want to know it's doable, just know we have a prime minister and a chief cabinet minister whose positions were created by a person. So if we put enough pressure and speak in one voice across this country, 40 million youth, your IDs will come out in one day. That much I know for a fact. Weston, I see your back.
Anthony, what I'm saying is this. It's good to get a message of hope and optimism. That's good, especially when things are not working. But for me, I've learned a lot from people who have told me things as they are, not those who have told me things that they think I want to hear. In life, even if they are my friends, the friends who have helped me are friends who look me in the eye and tell me things as they are. If I get annoyed or what, they say, but it's not because you're malicious. We're just telling you, if you do this A, B, C, and D, that is where it will lead you up to. Do this and that. So it's up to you. I'm saying this, that it's imperative that we get good governance. It's imperative that we get a person who is invested in the collective of the Kenyan people. It's imperative that there is no contestation over that. But it's also imperative when one is in a battle, not to underestimate your opponent. It's also imperative. The more you're talking about, do you know, Moi was supposed to go home in 1992, but he ended up doing 10 years. Why? Because the opposition underestimated him. He did 10 good years. Yeah. What? Yeah. 5, 10. Under multi-party politics. When he was supposed to go home in 1992. Because it's good to be annoyed and to be angry, especially when things are bad like in Kenya. But then it's also good to be sober when you're strategizing about what to do with the source of your annoyance and your problems. So, ideally, when people are discontented by their governments, their regimes, their presidents, because at every other corner, this person is breaking the law, this person is oppressing people, ideally, those regimes are removed through popular uprisings, ideally, through popular uprisings, very dramatic exercises, and then thereafter people figure out what to do as far as reconstituting and restructuring the state is concerned. That's not what is likely to happen here. So it's going to go back to the legal processes and structures and institutions. And I'm saying, also, historically and across the world, those processes are usually vulnerable, susceptible to the very, very people who are supposed to be punished by those processes.
That's what I'm saying. And that's factually correct. It's not like I'm discouraging someone. I'm saying that's factually correct. Those legal processes, this, and that, the political elite love them because they can manipulate and control them. So our strength is integrity. But if you can see the discussions we've been having or that have been taking place, integrity seems to be an issue. When you're raised against an irredeemably corrupt regime, the only hope that will sustain you and amongst your people, your fellow comrades, is integrity. You hope that everybody else in your movement will uphold integrity, so that no one at the critical juncture will jump ship or be bought or will betray the cause. Because that's also what happened under Moi. At very critical junctures, Moi could find people to compromise and deflate the opposition. So, but this about A, B, C, and D, like a bullet point. When it comes to any country, no country has got bullet point type of solutions to their problems, because problems keep coming up and people have to keep thinking and resolving them. They cannot seek, even if you elect the best president, if there are no checks and balances, that president will mess you up.
Western, are there any solutions?
You can hear me, Nyati?
Yes, I can hear you, Western. Just a question as you...
Yes, the solution is this, Nyati. The ideal solution is this, where we are. Yeah. Let me tell you the ideal solution. The ideal solution is that we have a president who implements the law. That will solve most of our problems. You just implement the law. What does the law say? You as the president...
Nyati, you're next. It's 1:32 in Kenya.
Yes, brother. Thank you very much.
Before Nyati goes, can we hear from Kilimanjaro and then Nyati, and then we can conclude? Yeah, he had his hand up.
Okay, thanks. I actually just wanted to more or less direct this to Western. My belief is that if you do in strategy, if you do a lot of analysis, then you end up in paralysis. And I think that is more or less where he's ending up. You know, he's doing a lot of analysis that is ending up in paralysis. I really support what Anthony is doing. We should support him. Eventually, I think nothing had said about, look at the whole process. And I think eventually the mechanism is going to end up becoming a machinery. So at this juncture, I want to concur with what you guys are doing. You know, let us attack. You know, let us eat the elephant bit by bit. Eventually, we'll get to that point whereby we will manage to do a lot of things, just like Ruto is doing. Because if you look at Ruto, he has the capacity of having the machinery at his disposal, which he can manage to do a lot of actions, you know, at the same time. So I think let's go ahead with this. You know, let's no need of a lot of paralysis, as I concur. Cheers.
Nyati, go ahead.
Oh, hello. Moira, I don't know if you guys can hear me. I couldn't hear the previous speaker. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you, Moira. Yes, thank you. I just wanted to appeal to us. I've been listening to a lot of what's been going on. Tony Gashoka was here. There was senior counselors here. There was lawyers. And if anyone didn't hear anything that we were talking about, we are moving forward. We are moving forward. And we're moving forward in both frontiers. There's people who are litigating, Anthony and crew, and there's people who are on the ground who are gaining traction. I mean, everyone can agree that previously, a couple of weeks ago, the conversation was different. There was a lot of back chat, there was a lot of ranting, but we've gone over those hurdles. So right now, we are totally solution-orientated, and we're really ruthless about this effort. So I just wanted to let everyone else know that I'm really keen to hear solutions from people. And if you have, if you want to rebuttal anyone, rebuttal them along the lines of what is the better way to do it. I mean, how else? And then about the IEBC, ladies and gentlemen, I guarantee you the task at hand is phenomenal. However, this is our task. We are the Kenyans, and these are our laws. So whoever wants to tell you, this is infinitely impossible, we can't do this, we can't do that, then leave Kenya. Leave the country alone. All right, you can't water down the efforts of those who are trying to save the dream itself, even if the dreaming is all they can do. You can't look left and right and see the people who are doing nothing about it and go and join them. And then from wherever you're standing there, start shouting at those who are attempting the littlest efforts at actually salvaging the country. I'm just saying, please sit down, let this revolution continue. We're the ones who are going to deliver the future of our children to our children. And this is how to do it. There's something else that one of the lawyers, and I think it's senior counselor, Kibe or something close to that. He went on to speak about the IEBC in such manner that we are so clear. I'm so glad that I'm so clear right now that the setup we have is totally rigged, that if we move with this structure as it is, someone else has orchestrated it to fail, and therefore it will fail. But Morara came in and brought in another aspect of the whole fundamental, that we can actually try and gain landslide solutions, i.e. we want to win this thing by a big margin. So even though they want to rig, it's going to be a ratio of 1 to 9 votes. I mean, how do you cover for the 8 votes across the entire continent? Multiply that by a ratio of however millions there are in Kenya. It's going to be a bloodbath. We want to make it so obvious to the world that Ruto has stolen, including to the people who are actually standing around the electioneering, to make it very difficult for him to steal votes. Something else about the voter locations was mentioned previously. I'm just actually reacting to some of the things that were mentioned, which I couldn't speak on because we needed to obviously respect the senior members and people who really needed to say whatever they had to say. I'm just reacting on about the electioneering posts. I mean, the places where you vote. What are they called? Someone help me. The actual town. Someone help me, please. What do you call the place where they vote from? Station.
Polling station.
Polling station.
Yes, correct. Polling station. I just wanted to use the right term. With the polling stations. Previously, you guys have seen people are unearthing schools that never existed. And these schools were actual polling stations. So clearly, Ruto knows that a certain technique of his stealing is out of the equation now. All right. Some of the things that he's been doing have now been unearthed. He now has to go and dig deeper into his, should I say, into his bag of evil things. He has to whip out new evils to actually succeed. But we're catching on to this guy. These petitions that people are signing and taking them into court, I guarantee you they're making a difference. This noise is making a difference. International community and other civic bodies out there are following in on this, so they know what Ruto is planning on doing. Already in America, he's not loved anymore, okay, because he went to nose himself in China, and America and China are not friends. You can't go and hold yourself in America and go and hold yourself in China as well. You really can't do both. So he's already split apart. Financially, he is broke because he's already solicited for money in terms of his government expenditure for which he is stolen, and his people have taken this money away. So the government is broke. He is basically riding on a sinking boat, and we know this. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to keep encouraging you. I know you feel the fire within me. I know the fire is in you too. You just stiffen up, keep moving on, give us the solutions. I mean, that's me. That's me. Thanks, guys. Next speaker, please.
Thank you, Natty. I mean, we appreciate your efforts. We appreciate everything you're trying to do. I mean, you're in the diaspora and you're trying to bring basically the whole globe together. So we create a task force and we come up with solutions. We all know what problems they're all facing. We all know the animal we're dealing with. We know we have a serial killer, we have a serial beggar, a serial liar, and a serial thief in office. Does that mean that we sit back and not do anything about it? If yes is your response, then go to your bed and hug your pillow and let the rest of the people who are willing to take on this mountain and fight for our country do it. We don't need people whose main priority is poking holes in our boat. No, we won't tolerate that. And I believe that going forward, we should have zero tolerance for certain energies because we have a mission to accomplish and we do not have time and energy to waste on this. So I appreciate what Anthony is doing, because every week this is like the third space I've been into, and we're already seeing results of your objective here. We've been a team that we filed petitions against Adani. Even Adani had to respond to it. This is the IEBC. This is our country. We're not going to sit back. Ruto is not a god. He's a human being. We are almost 54 million people. We cannot let one person terrorize us. No. We're going to take action. The IEBC will be reconstituted, and reconstituted correctly and fairly, because we will not rest until that happens. We will not settle for less anymore. And this takes me back to one thing I said yesterday in a space. For you to come up with solutions, as busy as you are identifying problems, you realize you're part of the cause of the problems. And as Kenyans, we need to accept one thing for a fact. We're where we are because it's our fault. We need to take responsibility for this. We need to be accountable for the state of our country. And if you cannot see what part you played, you have no way to come up with solutions. This is our fault that we're where we are. But what do we do? What do? We don't sit back. We'll come up with solutions. So we start with the IEBC. Last week was Adani. The next, we start fighting for ID. And then after that, we'll start creating a major election registration thing. But first things first. Let's solve this IEBC issue. And Anthony, I appreciate you, because we've had panels and panels of legal experts, and one thing I appreciate about them is they're taking their time to come and not just educate us and also show us support. And it's really humbling that everybody is willing to do whatever they can do. And that is the state we're in. Everybody has to do what they have to do. If you're in this space and you don't know what you need to do, please reach out to me, because I'll tell you what you need to do. And as we end the space, I look forward to seeing all of you next week. I know Anthony will come up with an agenda, or maybe we'll do a follow-up for this so we can reevaluate what has occurred and what success, or what we need to do, because until we get this accomplished, we should not move on to another subject. So Anthony, please proceed.
So Anthony, sorry, one second, Anthony. I forgot to mention that I have a message for anyone here that is from the UK. The UK specifically. I've already reached out to people in the US, and they are very receptive. Now I'm appealing to you. I've lived in this country for 17 years. I know people have lived here for longer. So I'm not competing with you, but I'm telling you, I'm competing with you on Uzalendo. This is our country, and you know that this is our country. And I'm speaking from my heart now. I'm not speaking from anything that is intelligent about me. This is about our blood, our bones, the people that were born in Kenya. If you're here in this space and you're hearing my voice, you better reach out to me. You better reach out to me, because I'll meet you guys. I'm coming to all these bars in England. I'll be going out there to fish you out, to make sure you're on the bandwagon towards change in Kenya. Because sasa mtakufa, mtaenda kuzikwa kwa hile shamba, kule kwetu kule. Tutakutana wote kule. Kwa hivyo sasa vile tuko hapa hivi, honestly, reach out. Please reach out. I know you can hear my voice. Send that DM, catch on to me. Let's talk about this. Anthony, sorry for cutting me short. Guys, thank you so much. Peace, love. See you on the next one.
Kim 001. Your comments be brief. I'm holding on to my eyes with toothpicks.
In fact, I put my hand up. I was not gonna comment on the subject matter anymore, but I've been here long enough to know that we put people to task on doing this and that as a way of getting us to move. So I was really here. I'm really here actually to put you to task as Anthony. Can you promise us that as you hold the space next week, can you have liaised with somebody like Akeyoti Sonko or any other person? Can we hold a massive space? I don't believe that is really too much to ask, because it would really do us a lot, some good, because we can't have us moving into courts without showing them that we are really intentional in such spaces.
No, I mean, to Coyote's defense, he was actually here. Maybe you didn't see him, but he was actually here. I see Binti here. So we've all been working together. So I mean, KOT, I saw him here. I saw Binky is here. So yeah, and then it's also
Yeah,
posted.
I've seen them here, but all I'm asking is, can we popularize that days before?
Yeah, and we agree and we understand. But the thing is, like, for instance, KOT is very passionate about protesting. So he's hosting a space right now, and he's fully dedicated that to tomorrow's protest. However, we had IEBC, which is another issue. As he handles that task, we're handling this task here. So I feel like, as much as we feel like people are not working together, we are. I mean, somehow people are collaborating. But I see what you mean, that we need a big space.
I communicate with KOT on WhatsApp. We call each other actually. I'm in communication with Wanyama. I'm in communication with Pipita. I can say among the few people who host spaces, I have a good working relationship with a good number of them. To everyone in the diaspora, I feel you are one of the major pillars of change in this country. And why do I say this? Because you've seen how people in the US, in the UK, organize people to do what we call a come out and vote activation. I believe that will be pivotal in this coming election. I love what Moro has said, Enyati, that let's make October the ID registration month. I commit myself to doing that, and I'll start actually communicating about that tomorrow. In this coming election, we need to run this election like Democrats and Republicans run the elections. We shall make car stickers, we shall make hats, we shall make t-shirts, and that's how we shall make the message of we need to beat Ruto so popular countrywide. Each one of us, as I learned, I'll tell you, I always remember the words of Wangari Maathai. If a forest is on fire and a small hummingbird convinces all other hummingbirds to flap their wings, they create a wind that is powerful enough to put out the fire. Now, this government led by William Ruto is the fire and we are in the forest. We are the small hummingbirds. He's richer than us. He has richer friends than us, but we are more than him and his friends. All I'll ask us to do is flap our wings. We should not tire. Nyati in UK, flap your wings. Mwero in the US, flap your wings. There's a lady I know in South Africa, she will flap her wings. And collectively, we shall come out with such an efficient online that will go from spaces on X, Instagram, and another tool I know will be very efficient, especially in rural Kenya, is WhatsApp. And we shall galvanize all this into one major movement that will define the elections of this country. I'm optimistic. I have some good news. Kibe Muge has actually just sent me a message with his number, so I'll be now able to talk to him directly. And William Ruto is not better than us. I think we've glorified him too much. That he's the almost like he has two brains when we have one. I believe collectively, Moiro, Nyati, and everyone, we are better than Ruto, and we shall beat Ruto. And we will tell our kids about how we beat Ruto and his corrupt regime. Thank you very much. Let's meet on Wednesday, same time, 8 to 10 Kenyan time, and another, and from 10 to 1:49 for those in the diaspora. Thank you. In case you want to reach out to me, you can talk to me on my DM. And I think going forward, I might actually put my number here for those who want to talk to me. Thank you, and good morning, good afternoon, and good night to everyone in Kenya.